All right, I think we're live. I think we got the computer figured out here, hopefully, so that it doesn't do what it was doing last time. We'll find that out. So I'm checking to make sure that I'm live everywhere here. Let's see if I'm actually live over here. I always have to refresh the screen weirdly every time I go live on Facebook. It, for whatever reason, does that, and I have to refresh the screen. But it looks like I am live. Hi to everybody. Looking for here that just jumped on me after I did that. Okay, let's pull this up so I can see the chat over here. All right, check this out, right? Okay, so we're live. Again, we'll see how this works. We'll see if I get shadow banned or if it was, in fact, my computer doing some weird stuff. So I am live and I have some windows open and we'll find out. I did have a lot of, I had World of Warcraft on my computer and that was taxing my RAM. At least it seemed like that. We'll find out. That might be why I was freezing yesterday. So everybody share this out. I'm going to share this out as well. Let's see if we can get some people in here and let's see if we can tick some people off today, right? No, I don't think that's going to happen, but let's get some people in here. So I'm going to go ahead and share this out. So if you are in here, say something in the chat. I do have windows open now, so I am watching. Although I'm not watching YouTube, but YouTube should come into the StreamYard chat there, so it should be okay. So we should be able to get some, I should be able to see the chat there. It's Facebook chat there and Instagram chat over there. I still can't get the, it looks like you can't put in TikTok onto StreamYard to go live there. So it looks like TikTok wants you to go live on their platform. So, but I'm going to look into that anyway, because if I get the URL code and the other code that's there, we can then get it to go live that way. But it does. I'm not sure. It's weird the way things are going with that. But I wanted to come live again because today starts. I'm trying to share it, so I apologize to anybody while I'm sitting here sharing this out to a few groups. You guys should be doing the same thing for me. We'll get this shared out. Trying to pick a few spiritual groups that might be something that people might want to pay attention to. Me channeling today, Kelto again. I wanted to, I don't think I need these on right now. So we're going to talk about, everybody's talking about, I talked about this the other day. Everybody's talking about first contact. First it was the Christian rapture, right? We had a rapture that was going to happen last week. That was because an asteroid was coming by, okay? So an asteroid came by, nothing happened, there was no rapture. Now everybody's talking about first contact. Why am I talking about this? Today is the 22nd. 21st if you're over in Europe and the United States, okay? 22nd starts the next asteroid, which is, I don't know the exact number. I had it up on the screen. It was 2025, like TA or TF or something like that. It's coming by, and it's going to be sailing through here in the next couple of days. We just had one that just went through here like 3 days ago, okay? 2 or 3 days ago, one flew, or I guess it was the 15th, one just flew by, right? That was the one that everybody said the rapture. And now it's, aliens. They're not just asteroids. They're actually aliens, spaceships. It's not that, okay? And I'm going to tell you why, okay? So it's just an asteroid. And then everybody's talking about Apophis. I just looked up Apophis, by the way. I was on the site. Well, I just closed it. I was going to put it up on my screen. I should have put it up on my screen and shared my screen. Maybe I can grab that and go back, or maybe I'll do it on Saturday. So everybody's freaking out about, Apophis because and Tiamat. I didn't look up Tiamat, but I looked up Apophis because Apophis is here right now. It's just in an orbit that's not coming really close to Earth right now. It's right out here. I was just looking at it in Earth's orbital path. I mean, it's outside of it quite a ways. It's going to come by on April 6th, 2030. April 6th, 2030, according to the information that I was just looking at online. Okay. So I know it's a weird time of the day. Most people are at work. Well, not really, because it's like 5:15 on the west coast of the United States right now on Tuesday. I'm not sure what day it is over there. I think it's Tuesday. But yeah, so it's in the middle of the evening. So that's 8 o'clock at night on the East Coast. So we're looking at like 1 or 2 in the morning in Europe. So you guys are all sleeping. People in Australia are awake, and it's 11. Let me check the time here. 11 or 12 o'clock. 5 minutes to noon. 5 minutes to 12 noon in the west or the east coast of New South Wales, Australia. Okay, so starting today, if you're on this part of the world, going into the next few days, if you look in the sky, you can look this up. You're going to start seeing the tail of a comet that's going to be coming by. Okay, it's not an alien spaceship. There are no aliens in the tail of that. There's no spaceship in the tail of that. It's not the end of the world. It's not going to crash into the world. People for generations, every time they see an asteroid in the sky, pardon me, sorry, I have phlegm. For the history of the Earth, every time people looked in the sky and they see an asteroid, they think that it's a war bringer or a strife bringer. There's a reason for that. You guys are not aware of that. 77,000 years ago, an asteroid came by, and it came too close to the Earth, and it did a lot of damage to the Earth. Okay, flew by the Earth, and it flipped Earth over on its axis and did a lot of damage and killed off most of the population of the Earth. So out of that spawned legends. They called it the planet killer, a goddess in one religion, a god in another religion. Okay, Shiva in the Hindu religion, Sutur in the Viking religion, the destroyer of worlds. Okay, and they told that it was a god 77,000 years ago. The asteroid flew by, caused calamity on Earth, and disrupted the Earth and killed off most of the population. So out of that came religious ideologies that this was a god, that God was mad at the Earth, God was angry at the Earth, and that's why you have, 7,000 years ago that God was in a volcano, because you have all this superstition that started floating around that when the volcanoes were erupting, it was because God was angry again, because their ancestors foretold of a time when the destroyer of worlds flew by, and the children without education turned that into a religion or God or something like that. That happens. It's not what happened. An asteroid came by, came too close to the Earth, flipped the Earth over on its axis, killed off most of the people. Okay, it was a culling. So was God angry with the people? No, it was time. Okay, so now we're into a different time with the world. So every asteroid that comes by, everybody starts saying it's aliens, because that's the new God that's going to be coming around to do something. The AI God, the aliens, Anunnaki, because that's what they're trying to tell you. Okay, they're out there trying to tell you that. It's just not true. It's a lie. The modus operandi of what I know as the Orion Crusaders, you know as the Anunnaki, their modus operandi to control, take over a world, infiltrate a world, and enslave a world, which they already did here. Okay, that's already been done long ago. 12,000 years ago, minimum. Okay, their modus operandi is exactly that: drive a narrative and give you the narrative, come down and say, well, we're your creator God. We created you. Okay, and then they change the history and they start telling everybody that they're going to return. They're the gods. You had an entire television series, a movie called Stargate, and then Stargate SG-1, Stargate Atlantis, and another thing that spawned out of that. Many, many stories have been spawned out of that. Stargates that were found in Egypt. Everything's always found in ancient Egypt because they used that time period as the time period. Why did they do that? Because that was the time period when information came here to the planet from another place and came to Egypt. So they used that information to tell everybody what was going on, what was happening. But the evil people get control of that, and they're like, yeah, they're coming back. There are creator gods, but they come every 3,500 years, and they're overdue. It's always this large number. They picked the number that was as close to without being exact, to the big round from the Incans and the Mayans, right? Well, because the Incans and the Mayans knew about it, 3,600 years. And that's when the Viracocha or Quetzalcoatl keeps coming back. I was never told that. In that religion, they never told that was why that big round count was. That was the big round count that had to do with the universe here, or the Milky Way galaxy. Had nothing to do with that. Was when when the god was here and when he returned. Quetzalcoatl or Viracocha or any of those gods from those pantheons back then. It's not in their religion anywhere. Okay, so that cycle, the 3,600 year cycle, is not. It's a cycle for the human condition. It's not a cycle for a returning of a god. Nowhere does it say that in any of the literature, but people are saying that. So that's the number that they picked, saying that the Anunnaki, before that they weren't called the Anunnaki, they were called something else until Giorgio Tsoukalos started saying the Anunnaki were a race of people without any kind of knowledge. Literally, if you go back to 2012, you see him talking about Zachariah Sitchin saying Anunnaki was the god Anu came to Earth. Then 2 years later, for ratings, he said those from the heavens turned it into an entire species. There is no proof of that anywhere. But everybody says Anunnaki. It's okay. It's a catchphrase. You can use that. Okay? It's a catchphrase. There's nothing wrong with that. What you know is the Anunnaki and all of that information that was all over the earth. You see the statues and the pineal gland, the little pine cone, and the little suitcase. That is the knowledge of those people coming here. So there was a group of information that came here from another place. They weren't called Anunnaki, but you can call them that. Doesn't matter. Okay? Catch-all phrase. I know them as the Orion Crusaders. That's who they were when we followed them here. There was a different name that they used in 1947 when they were making communication. Okay, they talked about an old guard that was already here for like 1 million years. That was what everybody was talking about with the the Draconians, saying that those people had been here for a couple million years, and that they were the old guard. So without any knowledge of that, this woman from the military in 1947 in the Roswell incident, talking to Errol, the alien, she claimed that they were a rock opera, weirdly used that term. But the information that was given showed that they were the Orion Crusaders. They were the Anunnaki. So the Anunnaki, who everybody keeps saying is overdue to return, already came here and left. Okay, 1947, they had already been here and they were on their way out of this place. Why is that? Because we got here. Okay, but that was 1947 and in a different timeline that you guys don't understand, because we were actually here a lot longer than that. Okay, many generations before that. This way time works here. Okay, so this asteroid that's going to be coming by in the next couple of days, it's not an alien spacecraft. There is no UFO flying in the contrail of that. Okay, it's just a rock. And it's just coming by, and it'll come by again when it goes back around in orbit. Okay? And it's going to come by the Earth. You're going to be able to see it in the night sky, depending on where you are in the world. You're going to be able to start seeing this contrail, this ice trail of this asteroid as it comes by. Okay, it's not an omen. Doesn't mean death. Doesn't mean destruction, unless pieces of it break off and smash into the Earth, which anything could happen. You never know. Okay? Because that's part of prophecy that you guys are unaware of that could happen. All right, but it's not an alien spaceship. It's not a god. It's not Anu. It's not the Anunnaki. It's not somebody coming into land. It's not first contact. Everybody's saying first contact's going to happen soon. First contact happened a long time ago. Okay, so you have to define what you mean by first contact. Let's talk about that. What is first contact? No one even understood that. I talked about this a couple of days ago when I was live, when my computer kept freaking out. Okay, what is first contact? First contact would be alien civilization making contact with Earth. Have you guys watched the History Channel's Ancient Aliens? They talk about alien contact being on this earth thousands of years ago, over and over and over and over, and possibly still here. Have you not read the Law of One? The Law of One says they came here 12,000 years ago. Okay, so everybody's saying there's going to be first contact. First contact what? Right? What do you mean by first contact? Are people going to fly here, 3D physical spaceship, and land? That already happened in 1947. There's film footage of it that everybody wants to deny. Okay, so what do you mean by first contact? First contact with who? Right? Here's something that you might want to think about. 86%. 86% of the population of this earth, the souls that are in the bodies, are not from Earth. So what do you mean by first contact? Okay, some of you out there are looking for first contact because you're trying to figure out what's going on in the universe, and you're in that place where you're starting to wake up a little bit and you're starting to question. That's okay. It's you can do that. That's what you're supposed to do. Okay. But don't get scared. Those of you who are getting scared and starting to freak out, that you just need to relax. You need to look within yourself, find the answers. Okay. So there's not going to be anybody that's going to be coming here in a spaceship in the next month. Okay. So you guys need to get past that. What's going on here is a lot of things. You know what I mean? But you guys need to look into that too. So again, I'm wondering if I'm shadow banned, because every time I go live, I have people in the audience on all platforms. And I'm live right now on a bunch of platforms, and I don't seem to see anybody in the lives. So let's say hello to everybody and see what happens here, right? So like I said, share this out, get this out to the world, get some people in here. I'm looking at my things here. I want to make sure that I'm not being shadow banned, because that happens this time of the day. Everybody's working, so things are like that. But I wanted to come on and talk about what's going on and answer some questions if you guys have any questions about what's going on around the world, right? What is this? Let's send this here. All right, so you guys need to realize that it's not what you think it is. It's not craziness. It's just what happens. Okay, the way things work. If you really want to like freak out about things, let's talk about aliens. Okay, you guys already lost control a long time ago of this place, because the aliens did get knowledge down here to Earth and took control of the timelines on Earth. Then we came. We came to free that place and reset the timelines and reset the balance. Those people ran away. So your Anunnaki, your whatever you want to call them, your who you think is your creator gods, right? Those people came and ran away. They came here and took what they could get, and they ran away because my people came here. So you have a galactic council now that has a quarantine around the solar system. So aliens aren't going to fly in here. They're not going to hide in the back of a asteroid, fly in a spaceship, or have an asteroid come into a spaceship that looks like an asteroid. They're not doing that. Okay? Because they can't. Because there's already aliens here protecting you. This sector of the Milky Way galaxy had 23 solar systems that were taken over by those people, who you know as the Anunnaki. That already happened. Out of those 23, all 23 of them are free. 2 of them still don't know they're free. This happens to be one of the places that doesn't know they're free yet. So some of us are down here, boots on the ground, helping you guys to remember that. Okay? So you guys have to just realize and focus on yourselves. What's this place for? What's happening here? Right? Instead of focusing on what is this craziness with 3D, you keep looking in 3D. First contact, aliens, because they're focusing you. They're focusing you and they're programming you to stay in 3D, and you keep looking for chopping down the trees because you got to find the forest. These trees are in the way. We can't see the forest. Chop them down. Run, look, there's another forest over there. You guys keep never looking at the message. You keep never looking at what you're supposed to do. You're distracted by everything that is here in this place. It distracts you. And then the evil people understand that, and they're distracting you, keeping you away from what you're supposed to be doing. You're supposed to be looking within yourself. You need to look within yourself and start questioning everything. That's the way out of here, right? Like the all along the Watchtower. That song is a conversation between two people that are guarding. They're guardians of the watchtowers, and they're talking about that. They're people that are standing on the watchtower looking, and there's a conversation. You should really pay attention to that song. There must be some way out of here, said the Joker to the thief. If you look at that song, it's a conversation back and forth between the Joker and the thief, trying to figure out how to get out of the prison that they're locked in. Okay? That's this place. So you're trying to figure out how to get out of this place. They're in the watchtower looking at the guardians, trying to figure out how do we get out of this place. There must be some way out of here. And it's a distraction. Everything is distracting us and keeping us here. The song's about that. It's like Hotel California or Californication. Hotel California by the Eagles, or Californication by the Red Hot Chili Peppers. Another song that's about this place distracting you and keeping you here. And then if you question, you can get out of here. Okay? So you guys got to figure these things out. You're supposed to look within yourself and balance your time between what I have to do for a living in this place where evil has decided to make you pay for everything. You can't move without paying. You can't drive without paying. You can't do anything. They're trying to get you to pay for breathing. You just don't know it, but they are. Okay? Charging you for everything because they can, because you don't stop them. So if you want out of here, you want to go into a different place, you don't want to be here anymore, you have to start thinking about that. Your focus determines your reality. What is your reality? What is it that you're thinking? Okay? What you're thinking is what you are becoming. You know how they say you are what you eat? It's the same thing. You are what you think. So what you think about yourself is going to determine what you are and who you are. Okay? So you have to learn. You have to learn to change your thinking and start becoming what you want to become, something different. Okay? You have to start paying attention to this reality and realizing what it is. Question everything. If you're in, there are two types of people. There are people who are in service to self and people who are in service to others. I've said this a million times. If you look at all of the ascended masters that have written down anything for you, that are literally trying to tell you the secret to get out of here. I've wrote about it in my book. I should put my book up. Let's do a commercial for my book. I wrote about it in my book. Okay? So you should take a look at that. Let me go over here and find a commercial for my book, and we'll do a commercial for my book. Right? Read my book. It's in there. The beginning of all this is in there.
What is the reality about reality? Returning to the old ways. It is a comprehensive book about what is really going on here on this planet. It talks about the true spirituality that the controllers who think they own this planet have been keeping from you for thousands of years. It explains to you the knowledge that you gain from the universe itself when you live the way the prophets of the world throughout time told us how to live. Eat right, meditate, take care of yourself, treat others right. All the things they originally told us to do, but the controllers have removed from right in front of our eyes. The way to ascend to heaven. The reality about reality. Returning to the old ways. On sale worldwide, online now.
Okay. So pay attention to that. Take a look at that book. Or pay attention to what's going on in the world. Because you're supposed to be looking within to figure out what's going on. You're supposed to be paying attention and asking questions. There are two kinds of souls. Those who are in service to self and those who are in service to others. You're one of them, whether you know it or not. Everyone tries to say, oh no, I'm neutral. People who say they're neutral are lying. They're self-serving and they don't want people to know it. And they're trying to hide. Oh no, I'm neutral. Truly, I'm neutral. But yet, wait, Leo, you tell us that we have to balance. How are we supposed to balance? We don't understand this. What are we supposed to be balancing? Right? Because if I'm balancing what masculine and feminine, so I'm supposed to be androgynous. So you're thinking in the physical again. People start thinking in the physical when people start talking about a balance. I've had people ask me that question. They're like, wait, you're talking about balancing your energies of masculine and feminine. So I don't understand how that works. No, most people don't, because they don't realize that doesn't mean that I'm going to become, if I'm masculine, I'm going to become a girl, or if I'm a girl, I'm going to become more of a man. That's not what that means. When you're balancing your chakras, you're balancing your energy. That is the energy of light and dark, not masculine and feminine, not man and woman. It's the energy that you're balancing that is masculine and feminine energy in your chakra, your personality traits, your personality, your physicality, the physical plane, lower three chakras, and the spiritual plane, upper three chakras. Okay. So you're balancing you're supposed to be moving away from living in 3D. When you're living in the third dimension, in this place, and you think that this dimension is your reality, you're living in the lower three chakras. Okay, the red ray root, the orange ray, and the yellow ray chakra. You're living in those chakras. That is what you're doing if you're living in this place. You're in the focused in the physical, and you think that you are the thinking mind. You think you're this physical body, and that you're in this physical body, and that your personality is inside this flesh brain that's inside here. And that's where you're thinking from, because you're seeing here. And so you're assuming you're seeing from the brain, and your spirit is attached in your brain, and you're in here, and you don't even realize, most people don't realize maybe that they even have a immortal soul. That's normal. That's where you're supposed to start at. That's where you come into this reality with no memory of anything that's going on. That's normal. So if you're in that place, it's okay. How do I get out of this place? I'm tired. I've been here for a long time. I don't understand what's happening. That's when you're supposed to question everything. You're supposed to look around and learn to question things and start to become adult. You start to become an adolescent and an adult in your spiritual mind. You start questioning and realizing, this is the balancing, realizing the love, heart chakra. And that's when you have to make a decision. You start moving away from the bottom three chakras and you get to the heart. If you're in service to self, you stay there and you love yourself only, and you don't care what goes on with anybody else. If you're in service to others, then you'll start moving into your upper three chakras centers, and start unlocking that, because you're in service to others. You love the planet, you love the people, you love the animals, you love everything. You want to help people, you want to help the world, you want to help the animals, you want to help better the things that are around here. Once you start moving into that, you're starting to move into a different plane of existence. You start moving into the upper three chakras. That's the balance between masculine and feminine, the light and dark, not respectively. Dark being warlike, lower lizard brain, masculine energy, and then feminine energy, spiritual. Doesn't mean you're becoming less of a man, or it doesn't mean you're becoming less of a woman as you're moving towards a masculine trait. That's not what that is. Not in the physicality. It's not sexuality. Okay. It's you realizing that you are not this physical body. You are not this physical pain body. You are not the thinking mind, and you are not the ego. That you are something different. And it's not this. Okay. Hold on. I'm trying to figure out what these sounds are that I'm hearing here. I'm hearing sounds outside here, and I'm trying to figure out what's going on. I don't know if it's my cat or what's going on. I may have to end the live, or run out and see where my cat is, because I opened up the curtains to see what's going on, but I don't see him. But I'm hearing something, like as if the cat was out here trying to get my attention to come in. It's hot outside right now, and he may be wanting to come inside. So I may have to run over and go do that. I'll do that. Nobody's on here anyway besides me, because nobody's talking in the chat. So I'm just going to go see what the cat's doing and come back. I'll be right back. Okay. Did you miss me? Sorry, I had to run away for a second to see if the cat was out there. I don't know what the sound was. Maybe it's just windy and I'm unaware of it. So I apologize if you popped in and I was not, you were like, what's going on? He was gone. Okay. So what's going on? You're supposed to learn these things and figure them out. You're supposed to start questioning and moving into your spirit body. Realize I am not the thinking mind. I am not the flesh pain body. You're supposed to start realizing that I am something more than that. Okay, that's what you're supposed to do. This is a school, it's a test. And you're supposed to move into something else. You're supposed to realize that you are something else. That's what's going on here. I repeat myself over and over and over. I got to stop doing that, I guess. Maybe you guys aren't really that interested in trying to figure out what's going on in the world. Okay. I'm trying to help guide you. Many other millions of people that are here are also trying to do the same thing, trying to help you guys figure out what's going on around the world. What are you here for? See, I think it's the wind blowing because the window just rattled. So I think it's windy and I don't notice that, but it's hot out there. I got to see if the cat wants to come in. Anyways, so you're supposed to do that. That's the progression. That's how things work. This is a school. You're not stuck here. You just think you are because this place is supposed to get you to think that. Okay. Evil people are trying to keep you here. They're trying to distract you away from what's going on, trying to distract you away from your goal. Your goal is supposed to be to continue either moving up as in service to self or in service to others. Either way, you're supposed to be moving up in vibration. You're supposed to be leaving the third dimension and moving into the fourth dimension. And then eventually the fifth dimension. I don't understand why everybody's thinking we're going right from 3D to 5D. Well, because 4D is realization of spiritual, so 5D is, and that's just not the way it works. You're not moving into a fifth dimension, okay, or fifth density. There is the realization of 5D thinking, but you're not going to transition past 4D. There's a long time of lessons to be learned in the fourth dimension before you get to move into the fifth dimension. So everybody's just showing everybody that we're skipping. Some people are saying we're skipping right into 12D. Those people just don't understand what's actually happening here. Okay. Are we making big strides as a species on this planet? Yes. The people of this planet are getting ready to move into 4D, not 5D. But if it helps you to think that you're doing that, then you can think that because you have free will. But you're not going to move into the fifth dimension or the fifth density. Okay. You have to move from your third dimensional body into your third density body before you can even leave this place. So you have to realize before you think you can get out of here, other than killing yourself or dying, then you're not going to get out of here anyways. You're going to leave the body that you're in. You're going to be collected, not by evil bad guys who are controlling you that have you in a prison, but by yourself and your guides and your higher self. And then you're going to sit down and reflect, and you're going to design another life, and you're going to come back because you signed on for this, because you're supposed to do that. Okay. It's the way it works. We all go through a progression of learning. How we learn the things that we learn are completely up to every individual. Okay. You can learn things in any order that you want. So some people could be in life right now and people look at them and think they're here for the first time because they're full on in 3D. Doesn't mean they're here for the first time because they're full on in 3D. They could be here for their last time, but saved the physicality, that portion of their life, in learning how to just survive in the third dimension for their last time. Each individual learns at their own pace and the direction in which they want to learn. So some people are very linear and they go through the linear progression and they say, what's the linear progression? I think, therefore I am. And then I learn how to survive. And then I learn how to start figuring things out in education and wisdom and love, and start moving up, and they'll run through that gambit because that's the way they are. Other people will move everything around. Other people will combine everything and try and do a little bit of it. I'm one of those people. I combine everything and do as much as I can, a little bit of everything, each time. I do that even with language. I'm learning 27 languages, 28 languages. And I'll literally do that. I'll do a language for a minute, and then I'll stop and I'll do another language, and then I'll do another language and do another language. So instead of taking one language and then going all the way to the end of that language in the course and becoming fluent in it, I do a little bit here, 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 and I'm moving all the languages up at the same time. Some people get annoyed with that because they're like, well, if you would have just spent time on one language, you would be fluent 100% in like 3 languages now because you've been doing it for 10 years. And you're not 100% fluent in any language because you're not doing it that way. Well, it's because they are linear minded and they have to do it that way, right? I'm not that. I do what I feel like I'm wanting to do, and I learn as much as I want to learn of a language, and I move that language up. It's just the way I am, right? So I learn that way. I learn by doing as much as possible each time of everything, and move everything up. And I take my time doing it. I did that even in video games where some people would be running through a dungeon in a video game as fast as they could possibly do it. And I would take my time and do it a few times because that's who I am. I want to savor things and learn as much as I can learn along the way. I'm not in a hurry to get there as fast as I can. Some people have to get to the end as fast as they possibly can. They don't care what they have to do, skip to get there. They just have to be the first one to get there. And so they're a race and they're running as fast as they can. Problem with that is that you don't learn what you're supposed to learn, so you end up having to continue for longer anyways because you're missing things and you're trying to skip in corners. But that's individuals or individual people, and that's the way they learn, and that's what they're going to do and take their time doing it. That's just the way they are. So it's okay. You have to allow people. You have to learn that wisdom to allow people to be where they are in their existence and where they are in their development. And it's not your business to tell them that they're wrong or that they're right. Your business is to let them be where they are. The problem was that there's so much going on where everybody thinks that they're supposed to be telling everybody else what to do. We're not supposed to be telling anybody what to do at all, except for, stopping people from doing evil things and hurting people or raping and pillaging, and beating people up, murdering people or whatever. That stuff's wrong, and someone has to stop people from doing that. Serve as that example to show that we don't live like that. Otherwise, people would just be raping and murdering everybody, and there would be complete anarchy and lawlessness, and everybody would be killing. The evil people that are in charge and think they own this planet, they would love that because they could keep the population at a low amount, so they could make sure that they were in charge of everything, including all the money. They would love that. From the second they would have that heartbeat, they'd have that. Okay, so you got to look at those things and see that for what it is and realize that that's what they're trying to do because they want that. So whatever they're trying to do, you want to do the opposite, right? You see? So you have to realize that you're not supposed to be doing that. You're supposed to be moving forward in a different way. Okay? You're supposed to be choosing a side, whether you're in service to self or in service to others. Get in that lane and be it, so that you can move into your spiritual body, away from the physical plane. Everything in every religion is telling you that. If you watch my podcast or you listen to it, you'll see that information there, okay? You can see the full Law of 106 episodes is still on my YouTube channel. You can look at me comparing even after that, starting to compare religions and showing you the different spiritual ideologies from around the world and how similar they are to all the other ones. Okay, you can see all of that happening. You just have to look instead of, if you go to a church, they're going to teach you to keep coming back. It's just like when you go to school, they're teaching you to obey and they're keeping you from expanding your consciousness. It's not their fault. The religions have been corrupted from the top down. The people there are trying to help. They just have to help within the system that they have. So you have to pay attention and listen. But if you look at the religions and look at what is it that they're teaching, what is the message that they're teaching? People like me who are theologians, we will tell you this. We've been studying this stuff our whole lives. We'll tell you that there's what is the message? The message is the same. It always is. We show it in movies. If you look at the movie The Matrix back in the early 2000s, okay, you have Neo. Neo becomes Christ. Neo becomes the Jesus character. He is the Jesus character in that storyline. He is the savior of the people. He doesn't think that he's the savior of the people. He doesn't expect to be. He's not in service to self. So he's not trying to be self-serving in any way. So he doesn't believe that he's the savior. He's just somebody who's there. But what is it that he's doing? And what is his message? It's not until he sacrifices himself, dies on the cross, and then is resurrected that he becomes the Christ. But he was. And you can look at that. There's conversations with the actors that were in the movie. What's his name? Lawrence Fishburne talked about that with one. I don't remember what the guy's name is. The science guy. I can't think of his name right now. I can see his face, but I can't think of his name. They were talking about it. It was on TikTok that they have it, or Instagram, or wherever, where they had an interview, and Lawrence Fishburne and he were talking and saying, let's talk about that movie and what it meant spiritually. What was the message? Neo, okay, is the Christ character. Okay. So then they were talking about Morpheus. Who is Morpheus? Morpheus is John the Baptist. Morpheus is literally John the Baptist saying he will come, and he's the one who sees him and says, you are the one. Okay. It's the story right out of the Bible. It was listed in that movie on purpose. So when you look at that, then you have Trinity. Weird, the name Trinity, right? Father, Son, Holy Spirit, or Mother, Father, God, Son, God, Mother, Father, and Son. Trinity. Trinity is Mary Magdalene. They don't want you to know about that because Jesus was married to Mary Magdalene, but Trinity was Mary Magdalene. Okay? That story was literally the story of that and the apostles. And then you had the Judas character. The Judas character turns him in and is trying to destroy things, and the Roman centurions are trying to get him. Okay, Pontius Pilate, that would be Smith, right? Being evil, or if it's not Pontius Pilate, it's the Sanhedrin. Those characters of the Pharisees and the like were put together in Smith. And then you had the Caesar in Rome, that would be the AI god that was there. You have the chosen people, who are the Hebrews, would be all of the humans in there that he's trying to save, trying to get them. It's also the story of Moses. What's he trying to do? He's trying to deal with the being the savior character, where he was cast out into the desert and then is resurrected and comes back charged by God to free his people. And he's talking to who? The AI God, or Mr. Smith, about freeing his people from the matrix, freeing the slaves from Egypt, and leading them out of the darkness into the light. Okay, it's the same storyline. It's the same character. That's what's going on in that movie, in all of those movies. And then it was the quest for more money, so they made like 100 of them. Okay, but the storyline still remains. It's the same thing. If you see a lot of these movies, they're doing that on purpose. And they had, I think, Batman, they were doing in the same respect, where he was the Christ character. They did it with Superman as well, where Superman almost died and he had to sacrifice himself. Look at the Thor movie. The Thor movie, Thor comes down and he's stuck on Earth and he doesn't have his powers. Okay, this is mythology, real Norse mythology. He's sent down to Earth and he loses his powers because he's not being good, he's being evil, and his father's annoyed with him, so his father makes him have to become humble. So you have to go down and live in the flesh and see what it means to not be a god, so you're not going to be so arrogant. That was how the story of the Christ was told to the Vikings. And Thor comes down and he has to sacrifice himself for the humans, has to die for them. Then when he dies for them, he's resurrected by his father, by God, as the savior character. He now is immortal and has his powers, and he's able to then ascend back to Valhalla, heaven, to help save Valhalla from the evil uprising, from hell, from Hela, his sister, and Surtur, the destroyer. Okay, and he ends up using Surtur, the destroyer, to destroy his sister. So you have hell is trying to take over. So you have the battle between good and evil happening within Valhalla, within your head. Okay, the heaved up place, the heavens, which is inside your head, which is inside you. It's the same story that on the physical plane is this place where these gods go to, which is either on Earth or in orbit around the Earth or in the heavens, heaved up place. But they're saying in the physical, so everything in the physical, as below, so above, as within, so without. Everything in the physical is a representation of the spiritual, and everything in the spiritual is a representation in the physical. That's why in was it Matthew? In Matthew 3:16, God said, "What you sow on earth, I shall too sow in heaven. What you reap on earth, I shall too reap in heaven." So what you imagine, what you construct on earth, I shall too construct in heaven. What you unleash on earth, I shall also unleash in heaven. So that is telling you, us, the people, that we are co-creators of this logos. We have the ability. Jesus said the same thing in the Bible. If you had but the mustard seed amount of faith, you could literally move mountains. You could say to the mountain, move from there over to here, and it would. Meaning this place, you can change the landscape, literally change the literal landscape if everybody believes it. Evil people understand that and they believe it. So that's why they're programming you on television to think the way they want you to think, because they want to keep you here, to keep them in power. So they need you to believe they're in power, believe they're in charge, believe they own this, believe they own you, and then you live within the bounds of their chains that they put on you, because they say, I'm in charge and I can take your freedom away anytime I want to. You do what we tell you to do or else. Slave. They don't say those words out loud anymore because they have realized that if you have the semblance of freedom, you don't rebel. That was the experiment that was the United States. Okay, there was a conversation that went with the king where they convinced the king to stop attacking. Let them believe that they're free so that they will be more productive. And we will still give you the tithing, the money that we are supposed to give. But let us rule as if we are our own country, and let them believe they're free. Okay, was that to fool the king so that they could become free? Or was that a conversation with the king to try a new ideology? No one knows the answer to that question, but it took place. That conversation took place. And I think it was Alexander Hamilton who was the one, maybe it was Ben Franklin. One of those two. It was Franklin or Hamilton went to the king. I'd have to watch the movie again to find out, or read the history to find out which one went there. But they convinced the king, and a lot of that conversation isn't put into the proper context. When you go there and you see the conversation with the king, there's something else that happens, even in the movie that I watched. Something else that happens because they go from one place to another with no words being spoken very quickly. So there was something else that took place that they're not telling you. Okay, but yet you hear people in the world, the same progressives, the same people who believe they own this elite, this 1% who believe they own the world, saying the experiment that was America, the experiment that was Australia, the experiment that was Canada. Okay, and what is that experiment? Freedom, self-rule. Okay, so that if that was an experiment, that means that it was orchestrated by people who believed they were in charge, and you weren't really free. They were experimenting with you thinking you were free. Do you understand that? That's what they're saying in their minds of what's going on. Okay, so the same thing, as above, so below. The same thing was going on with the Creator. The Creator came up with a scenario. And they're trying to tell you that as well, that you are not actually free because there's no freedom in the universe, in the multiverse, and that this place is the only place where there is freedom. It's an experiment. Do you see how people are tying that into the caste system? That God is ultimately in charge, and no one has ever had any freedom, and no souls have ever had any freedom. And therefore, this place is the only place where you have that freedom. But you don't really, because this place is being ruled by people the same way, as above, so below. And that's kind of what they're trying to teach you there. Okay, because they're trying to say, as above, so below. The way it is here is the way it is in heaven. Get used to it. Because they're trying to tell you that is the way of all things, because they want it to be that way. Okay? Woo Rider, welcome. Welcome. So they tell you that even in religion, they say you didn't have any freedom and now you have freedom. This is an experiment by God because there was never any freedom anywhere in the multiverse. That's what they're trying to tell you. And then somebody convinced God, because there's a little bit of truth to that. And that's why they talk that way. But it's their caste system once again, that you have no choice, you have no freedom. This is an experiment, and God's going to eventually stop it all, because they're trying to tell you they own you, and that you're living in a pyramid scheme, a caste system where there's one person in charge and you're way down here at the bottom. So they're trying to tell you the same thing again, trying to convince you of that. They have to tell a little truth with many lies, right? So they say, well, you have freedom, but this is just the only place that it exists. It's not true. It's not true. There was a time when there wasn't freedom, if the way that we have it. There was a time that people lived and learned in a different way than we had here, but they still had freedom of choice. They just didn't have complete autonomy, not knowing that they were the creator. Okay. So then they'll tell you you're in a prison where they mind wipe your soul so you don't remember. There's them trying to say that you're in a prison again under a caste system, and God lets you be mind wiped because the Anunnaki, because some aliens are in charge once again. Caste system, third dimensional guardians, there was somebody in charge. So they just have to say they're related to them. Well, we are your creator gods living here on Earth. That's all they have to do when enough people believe in it, then they just step up and go, well, that's us. We're your creators. We're the descendants of those creators, and we're ruling over you. So worship us as gods, because there are some places on this planet who people believe there are gods that are running it. North Korea is one of them. There's a few places where the guy in charge, according to the people, they believe is a god. The North Korean Kim Jong-un or Il or whichever one it is these days, the people in North Korea believe he is a god on earth. They believe that about Xerxes, the god king. They believe that about a lot and have. It's not just in the distant past. There's at least 10 or 12 countries that believe that. The Saudis are trying to get their people to believe that. Okay, they're gods. They're not just people. And they've done that forever. The King of England believes that he was related to Thor, a god, descendant of Thor, okay, a god that they don't officially even believe in. So think about that, right? So now they're trying to say that they're like Hercules. Hercules was supposedly half man, half god. And then the ancient aliens people will be, that's because aliens came down here and bred with humans, right? So they keep everything third dimension. They lie to you and give you a little bit of truth in the lies. Yes, you're veiled. That was designed by God because God's lazy, because your ass was lazy and everybody else's ass was lazy. And they weren't progressing fast enough or living or having any kind of adventures or experiences. Because they were like, yeah, I'm God, you're God, we're all God. We'll get there. Because everybody knew they were God. So then God created the idea of what if they didn't know they were God? Then that would allow them to have an organic experience, right? Then they still weren't moving very fast. So they had to create the duality, the evil people. So the creator created evil so that you had a balance, because the creator likes balance. Creator of the universe likes balance. Up, down, left, right, front, back, top, bottom, good, evil, light, dark. The creator likes balance. The creator doesn't like one thing without its opposing, without its opposite. So everything has an equal and opposite in this universe. The way it is, everything is balanced. Okay, so everything has its opposite. So whatever you can imagine, there's the opposing energy for that, whatever it is. Okay, if you push, something's pushing back. If you run away, something's running towards you. That is the way it works in this universe. Okay, especially in this third dimensional illusion that you think you're in, that you think is reality. It works that way here. So they call that inertia, right? Equal and opposite energies. So if you're out in space and you push away, you push something, you're going to move away from it at the exact same rate of speed that it's going to move away from you. So it's not just you moving away from it, it's actually going to be moving away from you as well. Okay? So that's the way it works even down here in the physical. You can push something, but you have to resist that thing to push it and hold double the energy. That's why E equals MC squared. Okay. So to get off of the earth, you have to, energy E equals MC squared. So energy equals mass times acceleration squared. So to get off the planet, you have to have the mass of the object that you're in times the acceleration squared, because the earth isn't going to move away from you. So you have to move away from the earth at twice the normal rate of distance, because the earth isn't going to move away, because you're not strong enough to push against the earth to have you bounce away like this. So you have to move away from the earth. It's the same as if the earth was going to push you, the earth would have to have the double the amount of energy. So they would have to have mass times acceleration squared to push you away from them without moving. So they would have to push and then stop, and then you would move away. So you're trying to push away from the earth, and the earth is resisting because it is moving and it's resisting you, and it has more energy than you do. So for you to make escape velocity out of the gravitational pull that's pulling you back down to the earth, you have to calculate the equation is mass times acceleration squared to get off of this planet, because the planet is pulling you back to it. Okay, so you have to go double the amount of energy for the output just to stay still, and then you have to double that energy to push away from the gravitational pull of the earth. Okay, so that's mass times acceleration squared. You have to square that, so it has to be 4 times the amount, or double the 1 to equal it, right, to make it the equal inertia, or 2 to make the equal inertia, 1 to resist and 1 to stay put. Then you have to have 2 more of the same equation, the same amount of pull to push away. So you have to literally create a battery. Why is this important? To repel. Why is all of this important? Because it's important, because that's the way it works with you trying to escape, with you trying to literally get off of this rock. In a spiritual way, it's mass times acceleration squared. For you to wriggle your way free from this physical body and realize your spiritual body, and you have to learn what you need to learn, mass times acceleration. Learn what you need to learn to move from the physical body to the spiritual body, and then disconnect from the spiritual body. It's 3, 6, and 9. It's all as above, so below, as within, so without, as below, so above. So it's literally the same equation on a macrocosm, spaceship trying to get out of Earth, microcosm, soul trying to get out of Earth. Okay, it's the same equation. You have to repel yourself away from the physical. So you have to literally calculate, learn what you need to learn, so that you can calculate what it takes to realize you are something more than this physical body. Realize, what is that thing that I am? Where does that thing exist? And how do I move my focus of my persona to that persona? What is that? Why do I have to move there? What is the process of doing that? So you have to become aware of the self. That's what happens when you're here, when you're born a human. You become self-aware. You realize your worth, that you are something, and and I think, therefore I am. Then you move from that. You're supposed to learn from that to either love yourself and stay living in this place and gain wealth, power, money, fame, become the ruler of the earth, or in somewhere in that aspect, from nobody to riches and fame, and in wherever that is that you want to be, or you are in service to others, and then you decide what you want to do in this life. If this life is just you being a nurse or a doctor or answering phones or being a teacher or whatever, then that's what you'll do. But that is you now learning what you need to learn to move away from the physical plane and start moving into the spiritual plane. Doesn't mean you're religious and you're becoming religious. Some people do. Some people are. And they become religious. And that's okay, because that will help you. If you're religious and you want to go to a church somewhere or a synagogue somewhere, go there and have that experience and see where it leads you. See what it does for you. Because it's not going to lead you astray. it's going to lead you down the right path, but it will keep distracting you so that you don't get out of here, because they're orchestrated now to do that. You have to find your path and look for it. Okay. And once you do that, that's you learning what you need and starting to transition into your spirit body away from this physical body. You're still going to be in it. Right now, I'm talking to you, and I'm literally residing in my spiritual body and in this physical body at the exact same time talking to you. Okay. I'm talking to you as Kelto, not Leonard. Do you see? Both are here right now. The persona that is Leonard is here, and my higher self, which is a persona that is fractured into many other humans besides this one throughout history on this earth. Okay? Those characters are all real characters like this one is from different times that I was. So I'm literally talking to you from outside of this physical place, from a non-physical spiritual body, through this body. Okay, so the personality that is Leonard is merged with the personality that is Kelto. Okay, but the personality that is Leonard is still here, and Kelto is as well. Kelto is talking to you now, and Leonard is sitting here listening. We are one. We are side by side in this shell while I'm talking to you. Okay? That's how that works when you start to realize and integrate yourself to your higher self. You introduce yourself, you find your guides, you start hearing your guides, then you start realizing I have an immortal soul. And then you start going, he or she, depending on whether you're man or woman, he or she is. Do you see? That's the beginning stages. That's like when you first become self-aware before you become a third dimensional being. It's I am something. So then when you wake up as a in this world a human, the idea is I think, therefore I am, which is an ancient Greek idea. I think, therefore I am. I am an individual. I am something. There's that I am again. Then you're supposed to realize that I am not this physical body. I am not the thinking mind. I am not the ego. I am something else. I am that which is orchestrating this from within. I am that which is experiencing this from within or from without. Okay. So when you get to that point, you start to integrate. I have an immortal soul. Now you're separating yourself. And I was just talking about this last night with a friend of mine who she channeled her higher self once. It was a long time ago and she wasn't ready for it. And she said, it was crazy. And she said, let me explain how it was, how my channeling went. I was here in the forefront. Then she came in and I moved to the back and she moved to the forefront, and she was talking and I was witnessing everything. Okay. That is what happens in the beginning if you're not ready to channel. And that's when people get worried and they're like, oh my God, I'm possessed, right? I'm possessed, or that's possession. And it freaks you out. Well, it also tires you out because you're not ready for it. You didn't prepare. You don't have the right energy. You don't have the right balance in your body. You don't have the right nutrition and water. That's why I always have coffee, and I always have, like, this is a boost, so it has energy and electrolytes and vitamins in it. So it's vitamin water. And either that or I have tea and I have water. I always have that when I'm doing this. I have it before I do it. I have it while I'm doing it. And I have it afterwards. Because if you transmute any kind of energy, it burns up the sugar in your blood. It burns up the water that you have. People who do Reiki know this. So if you're channeling, it burns up more. So you have to make sure that you're ready to reground afterwards. First, you cleanse the place. My wife did that before she left for work. She cleansed the whole house, got things ready for me to sit down and do this so that I could sit down and speak to you as Kelto. Okay? That is my higher self. That freaks people out. If I just said I was Kelto and I was an alien from the 11th density, everybody would want to hear everything I had to say. But if I tell you I am Kelto, they're going to go, oh, yeah, okay, whatever, man. Now it's just making things up. Okay. But the truth is, I am Kelto, and I came from the 11th density. Okay. And I came back down here to help all of you to restore the balance of this place, to give you back the knowledge, to remind you what your journey is supposed to be here. So you are supposed to have the realization that I have an immortal soul. And then at some point, you're supposed to integrate yourself with I am the immortal soul. If you're in meditation, if you know anything about meditation or even prayer, because they're identical, what is happening to you in your mind and in your vibration is identical. Peter, welcome, brother. Peter, you and I are going to need to talk. I keep saying that, but we never hook up. We'll have to find a time when you're home and when you're off. Now that I'm over here in Australia, it's even further apart. You're in UK time. It's probably morning for you, or maybe you're getting ready to go to bed right now, right? I don't know what time it is for you. It's probably like 2 in the morning or something right now, because it's 7 o'clock. So it's probably like 3 or 4 in the morning. Let me know what time it is over there in the UK right now, brother. So you're supposed to start integrating yourself. You're supposed to start introducing yourself and realizing that's me. Okay, so in the meditative state or in prayer, we teach you what are you supposed to achieve when you're meditating. You're supposed to be achieving that place where we have you guide you, which I'm going to be doing guided meditations. I'm going to be making videos for you guys to watch and putting them up on Merlin and Maeve, probably on my YouTube channel as well. But it'll be on YouTube, and TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, on Merlin and Maeve, and probably on my channels as well. So if you're already following me on one of those channels, you'll be able to see those same videos, because my wife and I are going to be putting them up everywhere. Okay, as I start making them, and then she's going to start making them. Okay, so yeah, right. Yeah, Peter said, yeah, that would be good. No problem. Just give me a time and we can decide. Yeah, because there's a lot of information that you and I need to discuss, a lot of things that we need to discuss, because we're moving into that next phase. It is 3 in the morning for you right now. Let me know what your sleep schedule is, brother, and we'll figure it out, because we can talk later on, because for me right now it's 1 o'clock. For me, 1 p.m. Yeah, it's just now 57 after 12, so it's almost 1 p.m. for me. So if you're going to bed, then get some sleep, and when you wake up in like 8 hours, it will be 9 o'clock my time p.m. So I can still stay up and talk to you. We really need to get on a phone call like we used to do. I would love to have you on a call with my wife so you can meet her and talk to her more. But there's a lot that you and I need to talk about what's going on. Like you and Reese are the only two that I haven't really had a conversation with to discuss what's going on more, because you're orchestrating a lot from behind the scenes that I don't know if you're aware of, but I told you that, like Eddie, getting in contact with Eddie because you gave me the link that he was in, and then getting on the live and talking on the live, and I've been on a couple more lives on TikTok talking to people. I was on another one last night for about a half an hour, but I had to get off there because my wife was coming home for dinner. Okay, so let me get back to when you're meditating. Let me get back on point. When you're meditating, I apologize for those of you who are going off on a tangent, because that's my brother Peter, who came here with me. By the way, he and I came here together with a bunch of other people to help you guys, and Peter is one of the people in our group that came here. They came here, and now my cat's trying to get in. They came here to help you guys, guide you guys. So in fact, let me show you that while I go and get the cat. Let me show you the video for that, because we are the Orion Coalition of Light. Let me show you that video. Those of you listening on the MP3 broadcast, you won't be able to see anything. You're just going to hear some music and meditative tuning. That's all you guys will hear. But those of you who are on the MP4 file, you'll be able to see this message. So this is the message that we in the Orion Coalition and the Orion Council of Light are starting to let you guys learn about. Let me put that up for you. All right. Okay, so I'm back. So we are. Let me go back to the chat. Right. So okay, Peter said I'll be awake for a couple of hours. That message went in, bleeding 3 times while sleeping, and dead as they always there. I'm not sure what he said there. I have to put my glasses on to read that, I think. So yeah, we'll definitely get together. I'll hook up with you, Peter. So hello, Penny, welcome. So we came here. We are the Orion Coalition of Light, the Orion Council of Light. We came here with the Galactic Council that some people are now trying to tell you isn't real. Okay, a lot of people are trying to do that now because people are starting to wake up more and to realize this, and they don't want you to know this stuff. So now they're trying to say the Anunnaki created all religions. They're all fake. They're not. All religions were based on a spiritual way of attunement and a spiritual way of the way, which most people called it that, a spiritual way of ascension. Sorry, I had to close the blinds again because it's hot here. It's like almost 100 degrees outside Fahrenheit, so it's like 36, 38 degrees Celsius. So I opened that up to see where the cat was because it's really hot and windy, and it is windy. I found that out. It's crazy windy out there, and the cat was like, "Let me in." Anyway, so when this place got stuck, some of us heard the call, and we came here to help. Some people came individually. Some people came in groups. Okay, we came in a group, and we're here to help you guys. Okay, there's a bunch of us that came here in a group. There's a lot of people that came in different groups all over the world. And you're hearing people talk about that, like Commander Elion, which Peter linked to me. And I found that our buddy Eddie Hensley was in there talking. And I jumped in there, started talking, ended up on the Commander's live the next day. I was just on another show yesterday, and I have to get the information again because he and I are going to swap books. He's going to buy my book. I'm going to buy his, and I'm going to do him a commercial. So hopefully by Friday or Saturday, Friday if you're in Europe and North America, Saturday if you're in anywhere past that and over here into Australia, so the Philippines and India and all of that going to the Middle East. Saturday morning, I will be doing the Orion Rising again, talking about the Emerald Tablets of Thoth and showing you how they, even the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, are completely about balancing your chakras and the ascension. Okay, so then when that's on, I'll have his information, and hopefully I'll bring up his book and I'll be able to show it to you guys. Then I'm going to order his book, and he's ordering mine. And he gave me a nice commercial yesterday on his live, and I'm going to go on TikTok. I don't know if it'll be today or tomorrow, but I'll be going back on TikTok to go live. I might be on other people's TikToks or on my own. We'll see. Okay. So we came here to help you guys. So let me get back to when you guys are meditating. Okay, how we show you this is very simple. The meditative state that you're trying to get into when you meditate or when you're praying is the same meditative state. It's the same state of beingness that you're getting into when you're doing that. Okay, so when people say, "I don't meditate," well, do you pray? It's the same thing. Okay, and if you don't pray and you don't meditate, do you practice Zen? Do you do this? And we try to show you this because you do it all the time. Okay. You do it all the time when you are looking at something. You're standing at a beach and you look out at the ocean and you're watching the sunset, and all of a sudden you have that, what we call, or what everybody calls, the aha moment, where you just stop and you're just staring and you're like, wow. In that moment, you're achieving that place that we're trying to get you to achieve when you meditate, where you're trying to get to when you're praying, when you're trying to get to when you're in the Zen place. Okay, so whatever you call that, and whatever the spiritual practice that you call that place, that aha moment, even if you're not religious, not spiritual, whatever, you still have those aha moments. Those aha moments are when your vibration is risen. You don't realize it, but you in that moment are not the personality, the pain body, the physical body. In that moment, you're not the thinking mind. You're not the ego. They're not talking to you unless you start thinking about what you're doing. But in that moment, you go, wow. And then you cease thinking, you cease contemplating, and you are experiencing. You go to the Grand Canyon, you see that. You go to the Niagara Falls, and you see that. You watch, a sunrise in your backyard, and you just sit, and you go, wow. You get up early in the morning. I used to do this when I would go camping, and I would go out on the lake, or I'd go out to the lake edge, and I would sit there, and I would just watch nature as the sun came up start for the day. Birds would start chirping and flying. Fish would start jumping. You know what I mean? The water would be still. No humans are up yet, disrupting everything. When you're in that moment, you're achieving that thing in that moment. You're saying you're actually not thinking. You're not in the physical body. So you're actually becoming the witnesser. So you're actually at that moment, you're actually the experiencer, and you don't realize that. That's your higher self. That's not you. That's you being outside the reach of this physical body. Okay? The mind's not thinking, the ego's not talking to you, yelling at you, or telling you you're the greatest thing in the world, or telling you all the things you have to do for the day, or telling you all the catastrophes of the world or your day. Well, we got to get rent, we got to have money, we got to go to work, we got to get this out, I got to go to the store, we got to do laundry, we have to do all. That is the ego trying to get your attention into this place. It's supposed to do that. Reminding you of all the mundane things you have to do in the place of doing. Thinking mind starts thinking about those things. When you have that moment of clarity where you're not doing that, and you're just sitting there and you're going, wow, you're just experiencing. You're still existing. And this is why we show you this, right? There's Brooke. Hi, Brooke. I love you, baby. And we show you this in that meditative state. So we show you this with a quick 30-second meditation. And then we say that's the place you're trying to attain in meditation or prayer or your Zen moment, your aha moment. Then we teach you that that's the place you're trying to be in all day long. Every time you get distracted by this place, you move yourself back into that place again, right? So you're trying to continue to keep yourself in that Zen place, in that peace, because what's happening there is you are becoming your higher self. You're becoming the experiencer. You're not the thinking mind. You're not the physical pain body. You're not the ego. Those things can't reach you in that state. So you're not thinking. There's no ego scaring you about the world or telling you they're the greatest thing or running off a list. That's how you quiet the mind. So when we're trying to teach you to quiet the mind, what we're doing is we're teaching you how to move into your higher mind. Okay? And people say, how do I know if I'm doing that? We teach this in meditative state that how do I know if I am waking up? When you quiet the mind, you learn to do that. Or learn to become aware of the mind and the thinking. We teach you to pay attention because before you think something, before you say it, you think it before you say it, you do that. So before you think it, before you say it, you think it. Before you think it, there's another process that happens. And if you concentrate hard enough, you'll realize that there is an entire process of the concept that comes from somewhere. It's coming from you. Comes from somewhere. The concept of what I want to tell you now comes into the mind, and then the mind translates that into words, and then my mouth says the words to you. So you become aware that your mouth is moving and you're talking. I was thinking that, and now I was thinking I wanted to say it, and I said it. Then you start having things happen to where you're doing something. Penny, you know this because you and I have talked about it. Where you're talking to somebody, then all of a sudden your mouth is talking and it's saying something that you don't remember thinking. And you're like, wait a minute, where did I get that from? And you start listening to what you were saying yourself and you're going, wow, that's brilliant. That's you channeling your higher self. Your higher self is talking through you and it's saying things to people. Sometimes that happens when you're doing a reading, if you're already expanding your consciousness into the mediumship, clairvoyancy. Other times that happens when you're talking to somebody and maybe you were talking about the truth or something, and then all of a sudden you heard yourself say something, you were like, wow, okay, that was your higher self intervening. If it comes through in a negative way, your higher self is trying to get you to be evil. You need to fix that. You need to get control of that. Unless you just want to embrace it and become evil and run off and do what you're going to do. People then, they start to worry about hearing voices in their head. And they're like, there's something wrong with me. I must be psychotic because I'm hearing all these voices in your head. No, what you're hearing is you're hearing aspects of yourself, egoic aspects of yourself, which means that it's very possible that the voices that you're hearing, that you have distinct personalities, are actually personalities that you were in a past life. And you're actually starting to perceive that, and you're bleeding over and you're giving them personas and you're listening to them and having conversations with them. That happens all the time. People think they're going crazy when they have that happen to them if someone doesn't tell them. And then they start to realize their personalities, and one of them is their higher self. Okay. It's okay to hear those personalities because you're going to talk to yourself from these other lifetimes eventually. When you move up high enough in your vibration, you're going to start accessing those memories and you're going to have those conversations, and people are going to think you're kind of cuckoo when you say that stuff. Okay. Penny, you and I have had that conversation. Brooke and I have had that conversation. Peter and I have had that conversation. I don't know if Woo Rider and I have had that conversation yet, but we're talking about it now. Okay. But Penny, you and I have had that conversation. Brooke and I just had this conversation the other day where we were talking about other people doing that. Okay. So as you start doing that, they don't want you to say, they want you to think you're crazy, and they want to give you information. You want to give you drugs, and those drugs are going to lower your vibration and keep you focused here, even if they have to hold you here as a zombie to do that, because they don't want you expanding your consciousness. So if those voices are coming through and telling you to do evil shit, that means you were evil in a past life. Okay. It means you did evil shit. So you just got to go, okay, I'm not listening to you in this life because I'm not going to be evil. No matter how much you're yelling at me, I'm going to ignore you. Eventually, what happens is when you start giving that a personality, your ego will jump on that and assist that personality to keep your attention, because that's what the ego is trying to do. This place is trying to do the same thing. So you have to learn to get control of that and go, not listening. How do I shut up the mind? How do I quiet the mind? It just keeps talking. That's hard. That's the hardest thing that you have to do. How do I quiet that mind? It just keeps going and I can't get it to stop. That is normal. That is normal. The ego knows when you're about to move into a place where the ego can't talk to you and you can control it, even though it will still, because you still need the ego. It helps you to learn. Okay. So yeah, Benny says, I talk to myself many times and sometimes give myself the best advice. Right. Okay. Sometimes if you listen to yourself, you'll find that all of a sudden you're like, wow, that was really good advice. Where'd that come from? Is that me? It is. It's your higher self or one of your guides talking to you. You need to learn the difference. Once you've learned that, for some people who realize there's different personalities that they're hearing from, that's good, because you're realizing that's not me, that's somebody else. Okay. So then you have to learn to quiet them and go, shush, no, you can't all talk at once. I will listen to you when I want to. If you have something to say, raise your hand. Okay. And so Penny says, haha, I told my evil side it was no choice but to follow me into the light, right? Laugh out loud, and it's not verbal anymore, right? Okay, see, there you go. So you told the dark side, sorry, I'm moving into the light. You have no choice. You have to follow me. And now it's just sitting back going, damn it. Right? And it's brooding and it's not saying anything. Why? Because it knows that you're not going to be swayed by that personality anymore. All of us have that. We've all done it. That's what some people have a hard time with. That you as an individual are going to be evil if you're not now, because we're supposed to have all of those experiences. Okay. So if you're not already in a dual aspect where somewhere in some time in some other reality you are evil, then you were evil on this earth, or you're going to be. Okay. So you guys need to realize that you will be everything. You'll be a murderer. You'll be a rapist. You'll be raped. You'll be murdered. You'll be a dictator. You'll be whatever you want to be. So we're supposed to have these experiences of good and evil. Some people want to believe they were only good and they never did anything evil. Other people sense they did something evil and they become afraid of that. What do I do? It's okay. All right. It's okay to have those thoughts and to open that stuff up. Just realize that that's not a demon possession trying to get you. That's just one of your personalities from a different lifetime or from a different reality that is bleeding over into this one because you're expanding your consciousness. You need to gain control of that and say, I'm not listening to you, just like Penny did. Sorry, you have no choice but to follow me into the light because that is where I am currently going. Okay. So you have to learn how to distinguish that and then tell them to be quiet. Raise your hand if you want to talk. I'll acknowledge you in order of the way I feel like it. You, okay, no, yeah, don't care about that. Next. You know what I mean? That you will do that. Your higher self is going to be stronger because it's you. So the higher self will sometimes just say things and you'll be like, well, that was really cool. Or the higher self will talk to you and give you, like you're saying, give me good advice, and you, wow. And you know what I mean? And you're like, wow, wait a minute, what? You know what I mean? So, yeah, Brooke's talking to Penny. Hey, Penny, I'm doing my master attunement soon if you want to do it together. Yeah, I'm going to be printing out probably today, Penny, because I don't have it. I just have it on my phone to do the master attunement because you know that I'm a master Reiki master teacher. I'm going to give Brooke her master attunement. So I'm going to print out the book that I need for the attunement. And if there's a workbook for Brooke, I'm going to print that out and I'm going to give her her master attunement probably in the next few days or the next week. It depends on how much I want to, make sure that she learns what she needs to learn. So yeah, if you talk to Brooke, if you guys want to start working, right, I have to message you later. That's okay. Yeah, make sure that you two talk and we'll figure that out. Okay. Because if you want to do that with her, then we can do a Zoom or a messenger with you and her on there, and I can still attune you. I can still do that at a distance. So if you want to do that, you and Brooke start talking and we'll all figure it out. Okay. And because I'm going to print it out later today after I'm not live, and then I'm going to get Brooke's attunement up and give her her master, because we should have done it already. We just haven't had time because there's been a lot of crazy stuff. So it might be good timing for you. So talk to Brooke or myself later today, okay? Or tomorrow, and we'll figure this out. Okay. So when you start hearing your higher self, you realize you have a higher self. Your first instinct is to then say, if you're a female, she, that, she, this, she's doing that, she says this. If you're a man, you go, he's doing this, he's saying that. Because you'll perceive yourself in this life as a masculine or feminine, depending on what you are physically in this life, until you start to realize that energy is not a masculine or feminine, but it is both. So we'll get into that another time. Okay, it is androgynous, so it is both, and it does fracture into masculine and feminine, good and evil. Okay, once you realize that, and you realize who your higher self is and what aspects your higher self is in, and then you start to have access to the fractures that are currently happening from that higher self. Okay, and those personas, and then you can actually communicate with them, move into their thoughts. Once you start to associate yourself, and here's that I am again. Okay, you start to associate yourself with I am the higher self, not my higher self said, my higher self is, my higher self that. Okay, the first thing that we teach you is talk to your higher self and find out what your name is, what your true name is. Because once you learn the name of your higher self, you'll start to associate yourself with that. It's the same thing when you have a pet, a cat or a dog or a bird or something, a fish, you give it a name. A cat or dog especially, you start calling it by the name, and it starts associating itself by that name, and it will respond to the name. It starts to see itself and starts to have to become self-aware. I am that name. So that is who I am. It starts to whoever that is, and we assist those spirits, those souls that are in those bodies to become self-aware. When they have that self-awareness and start thinking and having the dreams of being self-aware, when that body dies, the dog, the cat, whatever, dies, then they have the choice of, did I learn enough in 2D to go into 3D? And if they say, yeah, then they design a life and they come through, and in this world, they're born as a human. They'll come in as a human, and then they'll have an identification. I am. I think, therefore I am. Then they start their life as a human. They're veiled, so they don't remember being a dog or a cat or a bird or whatever, right? They don't remember that right away. And eventually, sometimes the people do start remembering that. I remember I was a dog. I was a wolf. No joke. Okay. At one point in my existence on this earth, I was a wolf. So you then start to associate. I have a name. That name is, and then what starts happening is you start to merge yourself. I am not this thinking mind. I am not this pain body. I am not the ego. What am I? I am something higher. Well, I am the higher self. Then your personality will start to merge with a higher self. So then if you're going to channel your higher self, you don't take that back seat and move behind and allow the higher self the total control. You become one with and integrate with the higher self and share. So I don't have to move over. I'm still conscious in here right now as Leonard O'Neill while I'm talking to you as Kelto. I'm right there side by side sharing exactly. And Leonard can speak whenever he wants to, and Kelto can speak whenever he wants to. And they're integrated as one beingness. And eventually, instead of being side by side, you become one. I am. And then you just are. Do you see? So people who channel somebody that is not their higher self aspect, most of the time that's what it is, and they're not aware of it. But if they don't and they're channeling a separate being, the same thing happens. The channel then at first, when they first start doing it, will move to the back and witness. And then eventually the more you do it, the more you get comfortable and the more you become side by side and you just share and you're just in there. And then you allow that person to speak through you and become. So that's why you see people will change their the way they move when they channel someone. And sometimes they channel people that I know from the councils, and I'll go, oh, I know who that person is that they're talking to. And you can see the way they move. And I've met them and I've talked to them and they move that way, and I'll laugh and I'll go, that's actually because they're this race and they move a certain way with their head when they talk. That person's a little hoity-toity and he talks like this, and he's always moving his head and like he's accentuating everything he says. And people will then tend to, if you're living in the flesh, think I'm crazy, think I'm making it up, right? So it's easier if I don't tell you that Kelto is my higher self, that Kelto is some mysterious entity from a higher plane, an alien. People will accept that more and want to listen than if I say Kelto is my higher self. And they're going to go, oh, well, he's just in there making stuff up then, right? But that's just not the way it works. Okay. Yeah, right. Penny's, you've moved into the we, right? So once you start moving from the we to the I am, there's that I am again, right? You will eventually, because you're at the we, you will eventually be the I am, me, I am. Once you do that, things get easier for you to speak to your higher self and then move past the thinking mind and quiet the mind. That's the last part of that meditative state that you're trying to achieve. If you can achieve that meditative state, even if you haven't met your higher self yet or your spirit guides, but you can still achieve that meditative state, that's a good beginning, because you're getting the training beforehand to where you're moving above in your vibration, the thinking mind and the ego's ability to communicate with you. And you're moving into that place where you have that Zen, that moment of clarity that you can do every time you meditate. Ultimately, we teach you that you're trying to learn to be in that state while you're walking down the street, watching television, doing anything. You're trying to move into that state of mind to where you're just in outside the reach of the ego and the thinking mind. They'll never be completely silent because we need them, right? The ego is needed, and the conscience, which everybody never talks about. They just talk about ego. They don't ever talk about the conscience. They integrate that into the ego, but it's not. That's more the id that what's his name talked about. I can't think of his name. Freud talked about the id. And a lot of people say, well, he was just talking about the ego. No, he was talking about the integration between the two, the light and the darkness being the ego, because the ego will tell you everything is self-serving. And then you have the conscience, not the consciousness, not your conscience, your consciousness, but your conscience. And that's the positive in service to others voice that's in your head. Those are the dual aspects of dark and light, okay? Ego and conscience, evil and good, the devil on your left shoulder and the angel on your right shoulder. So those are the contrasting points of view that make up your character. Steal that thing. No, don't do that because that would be wrong. I don't want to steal that. I don't want to get caught in the ramifications. I don't care. Just take that. I want it. No, I don't. And who you decide to follow is who you're going to become. That's why the Native Americans would say there are two wolves, and which wolf you feed is the wolf you're going to become. So if you're listening to the devil on your left shoulder or the ego and self-serving, you'll become self-serving. If you're listening to the conscience of being in service to others, you'll become in service to others. You make that choice. The other one gets quieter when you do that. Okay. So if you are listening to your ego will take over and your conscience will go away and you'll become more self-serving, and you'll listen less to the voice that says, don't do that. That wouldn't be right. You just go, whatever, shut up, and you'll just do it. The other way around, when you become more in service to others, the ego will be like, steal that. And you'll go, no. And you'll move. Like Penny was saying too, that dark aspect of her, you have no choice but to follow me into the light because that is where I'm going. So that dark aspect of herself, that personality is now quieter, and the personality that is more in service to others is more apparent in her thought process. That is what happens with individuals. That's how we do that, right? She said, yes. She says, we are the I am, we are all. Yeah, because you are, that's exactly it. So you become that. You realize I am all of those aspects. I am all of those voices because they are all a piece of me. They're a piece of who I am, the higher self. They're an aspect, a personality of that higher self. Okay. So once you realize that, you integrate all of them, you can quiet them and go, nope, nobody speaks until they raise their hand, and then I listen to them. And they'll all have a perspective. If you research them, most of the time you'll find out those were you lived as that person in a different time in the past. Okay. If you look into that, Penny, you'll find that out. That was me. I was that person. I am that person in 1852. I am that person in the year 300. I am that person in the year 100. I am that person in 1771. I'm just throwing dates out. But you will find out that you'll realize when you focus on them that I was that person. And where was I? When was I that person? That's me. I was that person. But now I'm Penny, but I'm also whatever your higher self's name is. You can ask your guides, you can ask your higher self. Sometimes the name comes through and you go, what is that name that I'm hearing? I don't know what that is. And then you'll say it, and then you'll go, wait, I think that's me. You just have to ask. Your higher self will tell you. There's a name that you know, but you have to realize that is me. I am the higher self. What is my name? What do I look like? Is that higher self the energy self, or is that higher self the higher self that's still in a physical body? And what do I look like in that physical? Okay. And then there's the higher self, which is the non-physical, but that's harder to get to from this place. And that one's just energy. Okay. So that one's harder to get to because that one is above the sixth dimension. Okay. It's above that. So the higher self, which is anchored halfway through the sixth dimension, is easier to get to. Okay. And integrate with and understand. So Kelto is my inner my sixth dimensional persona halfway through the sixth dimension. But then there's another one that is higher that came from the 11th density that is energy, has a different name. Okay. So I don't talk about that persona yet, right? Right. See, Penny, I remember I think we talked about that before. Penny said, yes, I remember being a snow leopard. Wait a minute, I gotta put my glasses on to read the chat here. A snow leopard, a booster, redhead, and many more, right? So yeah, so you remember you're opening up those memories and remembering that you were animals at a different stage of your existence before now. I remember being literally a wolf. Right. So I still have those traits, and Brooke laughs about that because I smell everything, and Brooke does too. And I'm like, you should look at that because when I was a wolf, you were a wolf. And she laughs about that. Right. We were in a wolf pack. But yeah, I'm always smelling things like a dog. Right. I'm all weirdly, oddly loyal like a dog, chasing and following people around. Right. Weirdly that way. But I still have those traits. I wasn't a dog in the life just before this one. Right. But I still have those aspects. I bring that wolf energy just like the crow. I bring the crow energy, right? And the eagle energy, because I was a crow, I was an eagle, I was a wolf. That's why I go by, Kelto crow eagle, because before that it was storm crow, right? And then it was, you know what I mean? So crow eagle, because I was a crow, I was an eagle, I was a wolf, but I don't use the wolf persona as much as I probably should, right? So those aspects and what those totems mean come into play in your persona and your personality, right? I remember feeling the ground on all fours. I remember we talked about that, right? When you were running like wild, that you remember doing that and running and feeling the ground on your pads of your paws, your front paws and your back paws, right? Because you were there, right? We did that. We were there. We were a pack, a wolf pack. So literally that was done, for a purpose. All of us go through that. Everybody goes through that on every planet. A lot of us chose to do that on this planet, coming in here to come in legally and go from zero to where we are now to help this, because we were undercover and we needed to stay undercover. So we came in deep, deep undercover and been here for hundreds of thousands of years, okay, to do these things that we're doing now to help you guys. Penny, we've talked about this. You came here with us. You were one of those people. You came here to do this, to help people, okay? So you have some of the similar memories of things like I do, like Brooke does, like Peter does, like a bunch of us do, because we were all together on purpose, coming through to do what we're doing now, okay? There's a lot of us, you know that. So we came here to help you guys because you guys got stuck here on this earth, because you guys called out for help. There's a lot of us that came here. There's a group of us that came here together to come in as a coalition, but there's many millions, billions of souls that are now currently on earth that came here onesie twosies, some in bigger groups, some in coalitions. That's why you have the Galactic Council that some people are trying to tell you doesn't exist now. Everyone thinks it's in 3D. It's not. It's not. It's in 5D, okay? So you can't fly up there and find it, right? But then there's people that are starting to realize, wait, I am a commander of a fleet. I have a spaceship, and I have other spaceships with me, like Commander Elion on TikTok. He's been talking on there for I don't know how long. He's been on the air for like 12 years. I just met him a couple weeks, last week or the week before, whenever that was, last week, almost 2 weeks ago now. And I was on his show. And he literally is a commander of a space fleet and knows that and has the memory. And he and I talked, right? I am a commander of a space fleet. I have my own spaceship, but it's not in 3D like everybody thinks. It's in 5D, but it's there. You can't see it, but it's there. It's quarantining this solar system to keep three-dimensional aliens from coming here. That's why I told you guys this asteroid that's coming here is not a spaceship. It's not a drone disguised as a rock coming in, because we would look for that, and it's not going to do that. It's just a rock sliding by that we're going to get to watch in the night sky, okay? We're going to get to see it. It's going to be all over the news, and everybody's going to have theories, and they're going to be like, it's first contact, it's aliens, man. We got to kill ourselves and get into the spaceship that's hiding in the ice crystals in the contrail. That's what happened during Hale-Bopp, during Halley's Comet back in the 80s, right? Right? Yeah. Penny says, yes, I have always said that I've been here for over 150,000 years. Been here for over 150,000 years ago. That's yes. Yes. And yes. Okay. Yeah, we came here a long time ago to be here for these lifetimes that we've been here. Then we've been human for like 30 lifetimes. Okay. At least 30 that we've looked into. I could probably take a hard look and see how many lifetimes that we spent as a human. Okay, so that's more than 10,000 years as humans, more than 12,000 years as humans. 30 lifetimes. 10 lifetimes is usually 1,000 years or more, right? Because if you live to be 100, each lifetime being 100 years, 10 lifetimes is 1,000 out of 0, right? So that would be 1,000 years right there. And if we've been 30 lifetimes, that's 30,000 years minimum, okay, as a human. And how far back did we go as a human before that? How many lifetimes were we here as plants, animals, air, rock, birds, snakes, dogs, cats, fish, whales, whatever, right? Some of you that are currently here have done the same thing on this planet. Some of you did that on other planets. Okay, this is a school, guys, that you're in currently. This is a school. You volunteered for this, which is crazy. However, the third dimension works this way anyways. You go through first and second dimension, then you graduate to the I think, therefore I am, self-aware. You become a human. Then you become self-aware again. You go from I am something, self-aware in the physical, to I am something, self-aware in the non-physical. That's the next step in your evolution, is the awareness that I am not this physical body. I'm not in this physical body. I'm actually in another place. And I'm seeing through this physical body. But it's not a third dimensional place where I'm like on board a spaceship and I'm controlling this body. However, that does happen sometimes with third dimensional bodies, where people are in the fourth or the fifth dimension and they're controlling physical human bodies, like Errol, the alien that didn't crash at Roswell, New Mexico in 1947, that didn't survive the crash, and that didn't have 3 months of communication with the deep state, CIA, and military intelligence at Roswell, New Mexico. Okay, that character that was a gray alien that was actually, she used the word a doll-like body, was what we would call a drone or a robot body, and she was controlling it from a spaceship someplace else, integrated in, typing and controlling that body through remote control, remote viewing. She said that in 1947. Okay, so the concept of remote viewing, remote control, drone body, and all of that was nowhere in the mindset of the human genome in the deep state of the United States of America at that time. Okay, but that's what was told. But they say that didn't exist because they don't want you knowing that, because then that would have you expanding your consciousness. Because if you knew the story of what Errol was telling and you believed it, you wouldn't listen to the governments anymore, because they're not in charge. So they can't have you having that story. They can't have you knowing that story, because they were telling of them being here and being the people who took over this sector of the galaxy, and that you guys were already stuck when we got here. There was an old guard. Oh, then the ancient aliens people loved that story and jumped on that part of it, but didn't tell you any of the other part of it. Didn't tell you that they were being chased by somebody who came here to stop them, and that they ran away from this earth. They're like, well, we own you and we might come back, but you're in an easily escapable prison with 2 inept guards. Right? Oh, there's machines that are keeping you here, but they're breaking down. You can escape anytime you want to. There are not physical machines that are out there broadcasting a signal that's keeping you asleep, that's holding you here. That's your imagination. You are broadcasting a signal that's keeping you asleep and holding you here. Okay? You are only stuck here because you're a prisoner of your own mind. You're a prisoner of your own device, just like the song from the 1970s from the Eagles, Hotel California. We're all just prisoners here of our own device. Okay? You're in a place that's designed to trap you, because it is a trap, and it's a harder trap to get out of than normal third dimensional realities which work just like this. But this one's a little bit harder to wriggle away from. And then you have evil people learning that, and they're taking control of that, and they're keeping you here. That's part of the plan. They're keeping you here and not allowing you to see that you're supposed to get out of here, because they're making it harder. It's designed that way. Okay, some people are like, oh, bad guys came here and did that. The bad guys were supposed to come here and do that. Okay, that was designed into the program. Bad guys were supposed to come here. You're in the Matrix. The bad guys were supposed to come here, lock you and solidify you in here and hold you hostage until you wriggled your way out. Then if you didn't wriggle your way out after a certain time, there were people that came and were inserted in here to help you. So I am Neo. We are Neo. Okay? We have been inserted into this matrix to help you wriggle your way out of here. We don't need to overthrow some physical plane deity figure. We don't need to overthrow governments. We don't need to none of that. One thing I need to do is remind you that if you start thinking for yourself, they can no longer control you. I'm not here to create a revolution. Jesus wasn't here to create a revolution. No prophet in history, in any religion or philosophical or spiritual thought process, was here to start a revolution in any way other than a spiritual revolution. Look in history. Look at who was talking to you. Look at what they were saying to you. Look at what the message has been from these people. The message has always been the same. Jesus kept telling people, I'm not here to start a physical revolution to overthrow the Roman Empire. I am here to start a revolution of spirit. I am here to remind you of the word love and what it means. I'm here to give you back your balance. Thor said the same thing. Every religion said the same thing. Muhammad said the same thing. Elijah said the same thing. Moses said the same thing. Moses didn't want an army to defeat Ramses II. He was telling Ramses, my Lord God, creator of the universe, said, let my people go. Or you will serve as an example of what not to do and what not to be if you choose to be evil. If you choose to be in service to others and let my people go, then my people will go about their lives. If you choose to be in service to self, then you will have the wrath of God, because self-servingness has the wrath of this place. And he said, whatever, that's not true. And guess what happened? If you know the history of the Exodus, you know what happened. They made a movie about it. It's not exactly 100%. I like if you take the one that Charlton Heston played Moses and the one that Christian Bale played Moses, and you stick the two of those together, you kind of get the gist of things. Except for the one with Christian Bale, God was an 8-year-old boy who was very, very unhinged, right? Screaming and yelling. And Moses had to tell God to calm down because God was screaming, no, I need to punish him. So that was secularism. That was evil people getting control of the movie and changing to show you that God was actually evil, not good. And that's not what happened. God wasn't throwing a tantrum, and Moses didn't have to calm God down. Okay. But the other stuff that was in that movie was a little bit more accurate. But in there you see that there was a lot more physicality in the 3D, where Moses was actually hitting and running and starting a physical confrontation with Ramses II. That didn't happen. Okay. I know I was there. That didn't happen. That's not how God works. And so that part of it is untrue. But some of the other lines and some of the other things that were said and shown in that movie were more on point than some of the things that were shown in the version in 1952 or whenever that was made with Charlton Heston. So if you take the two of those and overlap and throw out the tantrum of an 8-year-old God, because he manifests as an 8-year-old boy or 7-year-old boy screaming and yelling and having a wingding, take that out, right? And then have a little bit more benevolence to the God that was, but a little bit more conversation on the burning bush than just a booming voice that takes place in like 30 seconds or a minute and a half in the movie of a conversation. It was longer than that, so it was more closer to the Christian Bale thing, but not 8-year-old boy screaming and yelling and getting angry. They did that with Valhalla in Eric the Viking when they went to Valhalla to wake up Thor and Odin. And when they got there, Odin and Thor were 6 and 7-year-old boys, acting like 6 and 7-year-old children, right? That's people that are trying to tell you that God is fake and God is just a human, right? That's secularism at work. Atheists at work making fun, poking at the creator of the universe and saying the creator of the universe is just a little boy and the creator of the universe is just a human no different than anybody else, and everybody thought that the creator was something else. And then the ancient aliens people love that, and they jump on it and go, yeah, the creator of the universe, all these gods from all these religions were just an alien in the spaceship that came down anyways. Okay? Because they pull everything back to 3D, because that's how they make their money. Prometheus and the History Channel, Disney, makes their money by you tuning in and buying their products and showing up to their alien cons. Therefore, they're never going to give you anything other than third dimensional ideology and keep you in that. There's no spirituality. There's no expansion of your consciousness. It is wait here. We'll give you, what's the word that they're looking for? Disclosure. It's the same scenario being run by the same people that are evil that they did with the churches. They corrupted the church and said, wait here, keep coming back, and we'll teach you. And we're going to give you the ascension to heaven. We're going to give you disclosure. Keep coming back. We're going to give you disclosure. And they've been doing it now since 2012, and they haven't given anything more than they did in 2012. They just re-edit the same crap over and over and resend it to you and keep giving you a video and a picture of the newest UFO. And then they go, disclosure's going to happen. Disclosure's really coming this year. And then it doesn't happen. Show up, spend all the money, buy your tickets, buy all the paraphernalia, come to the stages, pay all the money for all the food, pay all the money for all the goodies, and then go home, and nothing happens. Nothing changes. They don't give you any new information. They just give you a different information that's the same old information in a new package with a new picture. Here's a new UFO. Here's a new video of a UFO. Nothing new, nothing definitive, nothing. This is who owns it. This is who's flying it. This is where it came from. Still the same saucer, still the same. Before it was a still photo, then it became a shaky video. Now it's become a shaky high stream video, and it's still the same thing. Nothing, no information. They're never going to give you information because there's no cure in it. There's no money in the cure, and you don't see it. So you keep chasing that carrot dangled before your face. Nothing has changed since 2012 in that genre. Nothing new has come out. And when it is, it's just the new version of the old pictures. It's just a new picture done on a digital camera instead of an old Polaroid from 1945. Okay? And then in the video, it's just as shaky as the video that was in black and white in 1967. Nothing has changed. They're just feeding you the same carrot over and over again and keeping you moving forward, chasing nothing. Okay? You'll never get disclosure out of them. You're never going to get anything exactly. You're going to get what you get right now because they're making a ton of money. You're never going to change it. Status quo is what you're going to get. If you don't want status quo, you have to start asking questions for yourself and looking for yourself. Okay? Penny says, this was probably for something I was talking about a minute ago. When I was a child, I have always heard, treat others as you would want to be treated and always send love, even if you must walk away. Yeah, right? People that are self-serving will take that. The quote from the Bible, Jesus said, do unto others what you would have them do unto you. Do unto others what you would have them do unto you. And then people will say that are self-serving, do unto others before they do unto you. Do you see how self-serving that is? It's just like where in the Wiccan Druid genre, they say, do what thou wilt, but harm none. Evil self-serving people say, do what thou wilt. Drop that back part off. Do what thou wilt. Do you see how they become self-serving? So do unto others, right? Like she said, always heard, treat others as you would want to be treated, right? And even if you have to, send them love, even if you have to walk away. So you have to do that. You have to look at people, no matter what they say to you. And that's the turn the other cheek that people don't understand. And they're like, so if somebody punches me in the face, I'm supposed to let them kick my butt? That's not what that means. Okay, that means don't become them. That's what the lesson is. Turn the other cheek means don't become them. Somebody punches you in the face, don't start punching them back and then get even and then get one up, because that's self-serving, right? If somebody punches you in the face, defend yourself, stop them from hitting you, and then tell them, don't do it again or I'm going to hit you back. Every time you hit me, I'm going to hit you. If you don't hit me, I'm not going to hit you. That's what that lesson was supposed to be. Don't let somebody beat you into death and stand there and go, I'm supposed to turn the other cheek, and get beat up and go, I turned the other cheek. Do you love it? Okay, that's not what you're supposed to do. Okay? But you're not supposed to become them. So if somebody punches you in the face once, you're not supposed to punch them 100 times until they're bloody and dying. You're not supposed to punch them 10 times. You're not supposed to punch them 30 times. Okay? Somebody punches you, you either run away or, I hate that when people say that, run away. What? Be a coward and run away? I hate it too. Or you stop them from hitting you. Okay? Learn how to do that and stop them from hitting you. Most of the time, you're going to find that there's something wrong with them, or they're out of their minds, or they're on drugs. Most of that comes out of pain and fear. Okay? Or they're just blatantly evil and psychotic and they're trying to murder you. If that's the case, then you stop them from doing that. And if that raises to a point of violence, then you fight backwards. Okay, I'm going to be violent, but I'm going to try and stop this person, and I don't want to have to kill this person, so I'm going to have to stop them. How do you do that? You look for somebody else who is not self-serving, and they go, okay, we need to stop this person now, because now they're trying to harm themselves or someone else. That's why we have the law enforcement and laws. Laws prohibit people from continuing down a path of destruction. Okay, so sometimes we have to stop people for their own good. Other times we don't. They will stop. You'd be surprised how sometimes grabbing somebody and giving them a hug they'll go, what the fuck are you doing? All of a sudden they start thinking again. You just need a hug. Stop. I love you. Everybody loves you. You just don't know you're loved. Sometimes that will work. Sometimes that'll get you beat up more. So you got to be careful what you do. But you have to figure that stuff out. So if you're in service to self, you don't care about any of that, and you're just going to attack somebody and beat them and do whatever they're going to do to you. If you're in service to others, you're going to try to avoid conflict because it's not what you do. So you're going to try and figure things out without conflict. Will be the last resort. So from that mindset, conflict should always be the last resort. This is why when Jesus and all these other prophets, including Mahatma Gandhi, all of these people, when they were here, even Martin Luther King Jr., okay, when they were here, they weren't abdicating violence. These people, even though they all got killed for what they did, most of them, okay, they were doing that to show people nonviolence does win. Mahatma Gandhi got an entire nation to sit down and not do what the English wanted, and the English eventually packed up and went home. And the Indians became their own country. Okay? So you have to learn that nonviolence is a form of violence. You have to realize that nonviolence is a form of violence. It's spiritual. Okay? How do you defeat people who are violent? By nonviolence. How do you defeat people who hate? With love. Okay? So you have to realize that I am not in service to self, therefore I love others. Service to self, people only love the self. If I am in service to others, that means I love others. That means even people who hate me, I still love them. You can hate me because that's what you do. I love you anyways. Okay, you let them be where they are. If they want to hate on you, let them hate on you. Don't worry about what they think about you. Don't worry about what they say about you. Okay, you have to realize that. Those are just words, and if people believe it, it's because they want to believe it. Those people are going to believe what they want to believe no matter what anyways. Then if that person is telling the truth about you, you'll know that. So then you'll know that person is unmasking you. If that person is saying things that you know is untrue, but people are believing it, if you try to defend yourself, you're just going to dig a deeper hole, because the person who's saying those things about you is going to say that you're going to say things about them and that you're going to defend yourself. They're already prefacing those people with that. You have to learn not to care what people think about you. What if everybody believes it? Then let them believe it and move about your life and show them that you're not that. If you continue being you and you are comfortable with being you and you are in service to others, some of those people are going to realize that and they're going to see that about you. Those who don't, won't. Okay, those people shouldn't be in your life anyways. So if they think that you are what that person says you are, then are you? If you know you're not, don't try to chase people. Let them be where they are. It's their time not to be with you anymore. So allow them to be where they are. Okay. This is the message that Jesus was teaching you. This is the message that Lao Tzu, the Buddha, those men were teaching you. Mahatma Gandhi, Elijah in the Hebrew religion, Moses in that same Hebrew religion, Marduk, Thor, whatever religion that you're in, whoever it is, if you look at what their message was, their message is never kill them. It's never do to them before they do to you. It's the same message. That is the message that I am here to help teach you, help you remember. And I show it to you so that it's not just my message, because I tell you. And when I say it, the people will look at me and go, well, what makes me think that you know what you're talking about? Because every person in the history of this planet who is still listed in history that a religion was created around was telling you this exact same message. I didn't invent this message. This is the message of the creator of the universe. This is the message of that you will unlock if you are in service to others within your own mind. You will unlock this information because you will access that which is the creator's message. If you're in service to self, you'll never access this. You will only access how to gain more power and control and manipulate people, because that's what you learn there. That's the package that you unlock being a self-serving being. If you are a being that is chosen to be in service to others, fear not. You too shall have access to this knowledge. It is what every ascended master has been telling you on the history of this planet over and over and over again. If you look, you will see that what I'm saying is true. Listen to my podcast. I've been telling you in my podcast, and I will continue doing that. Listen to the words that I'm telling you. I will continue showing you these messages that are already in existence around you that you just have to find. The way to ascend to heaven, the way to get out of this place, the way is clear. It's in front of you. You just have to find it. There are keys sitting on a table in front of you to a door that you can see. All you have to do is look at those keys and go, look, that's a key. There's a door that has a lock. There's keys. One of those keys is going to unlock that lock. How many keys are there? Should I bring those keys with me? Are there going to be other doors? If you don't ask those questions, you may have to come back and find out. Okay. How many keys are on that keychain? How many doors do you see? Is there only one door? How many keys are there? Is there only one key? Open the door. What do you have to lose? You're sitting in a room and you can't get out. You're in this reality and you can't get out. I'm not the only one offering you a key or a door. Everyone is. So when you get tired of sitting around in the room, pick up the tools, open the door, and see where it leads you. Does it lead to a hallway? Does it lead to another room? Does it lead to oblivion? Are you going to open the door and is there going to be a dragon there that's going to flame you and you're going to burn out into existence and wink out of existence and never exist again? You don't know. It's Pandora's box. Till you open it, you don't know what's behind it. You don't know what's in the box. But once you open it, you can't close the box again. Once you learn the knowledge that's in there, you can't unlearn it. Once you see what's behind that door, you can't unsee it. But I'm telling you, it's not evil. It's not death. It's not obliteration. It's not oblivion. Okay? Take the tools, open the door, see what's behind it, and start your journey. All you have to do is ask questions. What are you talking about? What's the door? Right? Reese, welcome, brother. Namaste. Okay? So you first, let's reiterate what's going on, right? Did you see that other objects, hold on, Woo Rider's got something on YouTube. Did you see that other objects were seen traveling close to 3I Atlas, and now they're even mainstream have named the objects? Yeah, when a meteor, when an asteroid is flying through a solar system, it starts to break up because the heat of the sun and the solar wind will, as it starts moving through the area, there's solar wind, there's heat. There's friction in the air. That's what warms our planet. It's not fire that's warming the planet. It's the vibration that is coming off of the sun that is warming the planet. That same vibration is moving away from Sol in all directions. So as this asteroid comes through, it's hitting resistance in the air. There's that vibration that is this warmth, that is the radiation from the sun, that is going to start heating up that object as it's coming through. The same thing when it becomes an asteroid and a meteorite, from being an asteroid becomes a meteorite. When it hits our ionosphere where there's oxygen, you can see it catching fire, turns into plasma because it's coming in so fast that it's creating friction, and it heats up the air, superheats the air, and it turns to plasma, and it catches on fire. And then when it gets hot enough, if there's volatile things in that rock, it'll explode, or it'll just crash into the ground. Same thing happens when it's coming through the area near a star. It starts to hit the outgoing vibration that is radioactive, that is heat, that is emanating off of the star, that is the light that's emanating off the star, and that will heat up the object as it's coming in. And if it has any kind of water or any other things that can melt from that friction, that will start to turn to steam, or it'll transfer into something else. And sometimes pieces of that will detach. It will come loose and it'll be flying with it. It'll start to break up and it'll fly with it. So I'm sure people are naming it, and I'm sure people are starting to say, that's a UFO, and that's a little spaceship. It's a mothership, and those are all little spaceships, and they're going to come down here, and they're going to come talk to us. And that just happens. It breaks up. Some of them might hit the Earth. Okay, that's what happens. Kuiper Belt, every year, this time of year, we start getting closer to the Kuiper Belt, and we start having these shooting stars. Those are little pieces of fragments that have collided with larger pieces up there in the Kuiper Belt. They're now dispersing outward, and they're coming in there, and they're impacting with the Earth. They're coming in and either burning up before they hit the ground or the water, and they're coming into the atmosphere, and they're burning up and exploding, or burning up into nothing before they hit the ground. So what's happening is the same thing is happening with the what are they calling it? The 3I. Same thing is happening with the 3I. And there's pieces of it that they're able to see now. So now everybody's going to get freaked out and go, those pieces are going to hit us and they're all going to kill us. You know what I mean? So yeah, people are saying there's aliens. It's alien beings coming through to our solar system, right? To raise the vibration of humanity. I just think that it's an interstellar comet. It's just an interstellar comet. You're absolutely right. At least they're not saying, here's the good part about that. The mindset of the human genome has gotten to where they're not saying it's aliens coming to conquer us. It's aliens coming to raise our vibration. So you can see that even the children, before it was a god who was a destroyer of worlds, Shiva, Sutur, the destructor, the destroyer of worlds that came by, God was mad at us and God punished us by killing us. That was 77,000 years ago, 60,000 years ago. And still people telling the stories all the way up until now. But now they're seeing a comment. In the 1980s, it was there's aliens on board, and if we kill ourselves, we'll get to go and jump on their spaceship and we'll go somewhere else. Now it's evolved to, well, there is aliens there. It's no longer the destroyer of worlds. Now it's aliens, but they're no longer coming here to kill us or eat us. They're no longer coming here to pick us up if we kill ourselves. Now it's aliens are coming to help raise the vibration. So the good thing is that the evolution of the humans here on Earth, just in the past 40 years, has changed from aliens, we got to catch a ride, to before that, the Mars, the destroyer of worlds, to wait, it's aliens that are coming to raise the vibration of the Earth and usher in a new thing, right? Elohim means God, I believe. Would the Elohim be like lesser gods or deities? Elohim was one of the names for God, so that evolves as well. So it depends on what genre you're looking for and what language and what time. It's like when I was talking about Thoth 2 weeks ago, and I said the word Thoth, and somebody in the audience said, it's not pronounced Thoth. And I'm like, depends on where you're from. Some people say Toth, some people say Thoth, some people say Toth, some people say Taut. You know what I mean? So it depends. Some people it depends on the language that you're learning from. Elohim is one of those. It depends on when you translate it back to what society. Do you see? Depending on the society that you translate it back to will determine what the meaning of that word is. Most of the words, most of the gods that were here are demigods. They're not the creator of the universe, but people try to equate them with that. So I think that's really more what you're asking. Does that mean it's God? I believe that it would, the Elohim would be like a lesser god or deity. That's more correct, like Thor and Odin. But if you elevate the idea, and that's the thing, if you elevate the idea of Odin being the All-Father, Odin to the Vikings is no different than Yahweh, or no different than the I Am that spoke to Moses. Okay, so you have to realize that. It depends. And so then Wu was asking the question, do the demigods come from different dimensions? It depends on who you're talking about. Like Lucifer, for instance, who everybody kind of equates with Satan, different person, different name. Lucifer was a third dimensional being. Lucifer was a 3D being who came to Earth, one of the Atlanteans. When the people from Atlantis had to come to Earth after they had their war, intergalactic war, when they blew up Moldak, and when Mars got destroyed, they had an intergalactic war and a civil war at the same time. The only planet that would sustain human life in third dimension was Earth, except for that Moldak was what was driving Earth's ecosystem. So they brought one of the satellites. That's where you get the Death Star from, one of their Death Stars. They brought it over and put it in orbit here so that it would sustain the Earth's atmosphere to keep third dimensional life forms alive down here. So Lucifer, who everyone thinks is equal to God, the creator of the universe, was an actual third dimensional being, not from a different dimension. But some of the gods, if you look at them, they seem to be beings who came here from either another dimension or another place in this Milky Way galaxy. Okay. Or another galaxy. So it's hard to tell when, like the archangels, some people will say the archangels are the angels of God. So they're outside, but they see them as human and they see them with wings, right? So human, Homo sapien with wings, right? Well, those are the angels and they appear that way, but then they show that they appear in the sky as energy, not physicality. Do you see? So that is something that you have to look at with the demigods as well. A lot of the demigods are just aliens from another place or another dimension that crossed over into this reality. And then they come down, they're self-serving and they come down. No different than if you and I, Wu, say we got on a spaceship and we went to another planet that's in another solar system, 200, 400 light years away. And we show up there and their societal structure is the way it was 2,000 years ago on this planet, and you and I landed. If we were self-serving, the first thing we're going to do is come down there and go, yeah, I'm your God. I created you. Why wouldn't I say that? I want to rule this planet. Oh, and give me some of your women because I need to have sex. Okay, so you're going to create a persona of yourself being a God, whether you are or not. Your technology is going to have them believing that you're a God. So some of the names, if you look at the mythology of it, you can start going, well, was that a deity figure that was in fact representing the creator of the universe, but with just a different name because of a different culture? Or was that a being that was here in the physicality? Or was it somebody who was non-physical, like with Ra? When they came here to Earth, they didn't physically come here to Earth. They used their thoughts and they appeared as humanoid to the humans, but they also appeared as a god to the humans because they had so much technology. They didn't tell the humans they weren't gods, but they didn't tell the humans they were gods. They let the humans believe what they wanted to believe. So you have to really research when, where, and who said it, and what. And look at the writings and stuff. That's when you have to look at scrolls to find out if some of the demigods are just what one religion will call a demigod, like the Hebrews will call Thor and Odin a demigod, not a real god. Thor and Odin are the same as Jesus and his father. It's just being told, that story is just being told to the people of the North that are not Hebrews. Okay, but it's the same story. Story of Santa Claus is the same story. So it's the same story. And so that's when people get stuck on a scroll and they say, well, then they took this from them. Who wrote the oldest scroll? When was this written? When was that written? So let it be written, so let it be done. Well, the Viking sagas were never written down until the 1100s. So according to the people that are the secularists, it didn't exist prior to somebody writing it down. So therefore, their religion started in the 1100s. No, that's when the first person wrote it down for the world to see. Okay. Before that, they didn't want anybody to know their language, learn it, let alone their history. So they only spoke it. Okay. All of the Celts and the Vikings were the same way. No one knows what they called themselves. The reason that we call the Southern Vikings the Celts is because the Greeks called them Keltoi. Okay. Those people who live up north that are not Greek. That's what that meant. Keltoi became Celtic. The Celts. That's not what they called themselves, but they didn't tell anybody what they called themselves. Do you see? So a catch-all phrase, and then a religion saying my religion is the real religion. Their religion is not the same. But when they're trying to recruit people into their religion, when the Roman Catholics tried to recruit the Vikings, they showed them the parallels. Wait, your God is my God. Your Savior is my Savior. It's the same person. So, but we want you to stop calling your Savior yours because ours is the right one. So Thor is now Jesus, and Odin is Jesus's father, the creator of the universe. I am. Okay. So that's Adonai. Adonai, which is what they used for all of time in the Hebrew. That word means I am. Adonai means I am. So when they pray and then they say, Adonai at the end of that means I am. They're saying God's name because that's what God told Moses. So that people don't realize that that's all they're saying is I am when they say Adonai. So they literally looked at their parallels between their spirituality, but they'll call them a demigod. Do you see? So I don't know if that answers your question. Same thing with Marduk. Marduk is Jesus. Okay. Marduk is Zeus. Marduk is Thor. Marduk is Moses. Marduk is David. Okay. Marduk is Neo from the Matrix. Okay. So these characters in these fables and these stories that go on this quest as a savior and become this savior character, these religions are brought around that savior character. The Jesus character happened more than 12 times on this earth in 12 different stories in 12 different countries, Thor being one of them. It's the same hero. If you read Joseph Campbell's book, which is like this thick, I haven't read the entire thing, but I spent a lot of time between the age of 14 and 18 listening to him speak. Joseph Campbell wrote a book called The Hero with a Thousand Faces, and it was about mythology. He taught mythology at a college in the United States, was a professor. So he showed spirituality, religion, as a theologian into mythology, and showed that the mythological characters throughout all of time were not mythic. They were the version of that society's storyline of God and the creation of the universe and their peoples. Okay? So most of the demigods, long story long, I apologize. Most of the demigods, if you trace them back, you'll find that they were on the same quest, that they were the same character, the savior, saving people, being the son of a creator or the daughter of a creator of the universe coming in physical form to earth. You'll find that that's the same message that's being told in some way. Marduk did that. Marduk came as a physical being to fight against his grandmother or great-grandmother, and he became physical, was appointed by the physical people to go and defeat her in the physical, and he went and killed her in the physical, and then he was raised and elevated to God status ahead of all the gods. So he descended to earth, had to die in the spiritual to be born in the physical, to then prove himself to be worthy, went and attacked Tiamat, who had gone evil, destroyed Tiamat, and then ascended back to God's status. Okay, it's the same story, just being told with different names in there. So the All-Father in that story had gone off the rails and was going to kill his sons. Okay, so weird that gods back then could kill each other, but that was when they said that gods weren't really dead; they were dead but asleep. So they were in the realization that they were physically dead, but just dormant in the spiritual. So the gods were dual aspect in the past, in the distant past. They were dual aspect, physical, non-physical. Then at some point they became non-physical, not physical. And then God was non-physical and talking to the physical, and everything happened in the physical plane, but that was the sun, like Heracles was a half-breed. He was part God, part human. Do you see? So at some point the evolution happened of the deity figures that we now would refer to as demigods, because we are now living in a time when we have a monotheistic, male-dominated religion, the big three, the Hebrewism, Hinduism, and Christianity, and what's the fourth one? I can't think of what it is. Muslim religion. So what you have is the Hindu religion has Shiva. It has masculine and feminine, but it doesn't have the dual aspect. And then the savior is the same. It's the sun god, the god of the sun. The Egyptians have the same. You have Horus and Ra. You have the sun god. You have the underworld god. And so you have the veiling, the unveiling, the illumination and the veiling, the dichotomy between good and evil, light and dark. And so it's the same storyline being told a different way. So the Hebrews would say that the Roman and the Greek gods and the Egyptian gods were demigods because it's not their God. And then the Hindus would say that the god, Adonai from the Hebrews is a demigod because Shiva and Ganesh and those characters were another god. And then you have the Christians today that will say, well, the God of the Hebrews was the real God because that was the father of Jesus, yet Shiva is nothing near that, and neither is Ganesh and the others, and Odin and Thor are nothing, but it's the same exact story. It's the same exact story, just told slightly different. Different culture, different people, right? Different way of life. The Vikings were a little bit more dual aspect violent, okay? So they had a male dominated, but they had the dual aspect. They had a mother and a father, right? Odin and his wife. And then the son, who was the savior character who came down to earth, did the same thing. He defeated the dragon. Marduk defeated the dragon. Jesus defeated the serpent, snake, dragon in the garden, and then ascended to defeat evil, died and was resurrected, died in the physical and was resurrected in the spiritual. All of these characters did the same thing. So would they be considered demigods? No, because they're all the same character with a different name, same God with a different name. So in the Marduk pantheon, it was Anu, it was Marduk, it was Tiamat, it was, what was the other god's name? Mumu, Mahamu, Mahu, these different gods. They were just the names of the gods for that culture, but they played the same role. So it was the same story. So that's where people are now trying to, the secularists and the alien hunters on History Channel's Ancient Aliens, trying to say the Anunnaki created all of those religions. Do you see? Because they're all the same. Once people like me started showing that all the religions were the same, then we're expanding people's consciousness and realizing the message is more important. Then they're trying to say, well, the aliens created all those to confuse you. None of those are real, but they are actually the way off of this rock, right? Marduk is the name that I've been hearing a lot in the past 5 years. When was Marduk, or where was Marduk from? Right now they're trying to say that Marduk is that story is the oldest story on the history of the earth, but it's not. But they're saying that it is. That's the oldest scroll, so everything was copied from that. It's the Mesopotamian scroll called the Enuma Elish. Okay, the Enuma Elish, the Enuma Elish, depending on the accent that you use from wherever country you're from, you can Google that. And that scroll tells that story of Marduk, who was a god, but he was in the physical. He was the great grandson of Tiamat. Tiamat, it was the dragon, the evil dragon Tiamat. She's a goddess. Her husband, I'll tell you the story. You can read the story. Her husband, the all god, and Tiamat had 3 children. They were all boys, gods. They were loud, obnoxious, and partying all the time. So Tiamat's husband couldn't sleep. So he said, I'm going to have to kill those boys because they won't listen to me when I tell them that I need to sleep and they're being too loud and partying. So Tiamat went to the boys and said, you guys need to knock it off. Your dad's getting mad and he's going to kill you if you don't be quiet. So the boys said, well, if dad's going to kill us, we need to kill him instead. So the gods started killing each other. So the 3 boys murdered their father, the all-father, creator of the universe. Because they killed the father, his wife, Tiamat, got angry, flipped out because they murdered her love, and now she's evil because she's trying to take revenge on her. This is just the story the way it goes. Now she's evil because she's mad and she's trying to kill them. So she kills them. And now all of the humans are scared to death because the evil Tiamat has killed 3 gods. So then they start hiring people to go and kill Tiamat. Because apparently that's what you did back in the day, is gods killed gods, and then the humans killed the gods to stop the gods from killing each other. So here's the story. You have the War of the Gods that is happening. Same story in India with Shiva and the War of the Gods. Okay, same story that you hear with Odin and Thor fighting against the frost giants. War of the Gods. Okay, gods killing gods. And that's why the monotheistic religion says they're demigods because there is no war in heaven, but their story has that Satan, the devil, morning star, fell and led a rebellion, a war of gods. Same story. Do you see? But they're saying the other religions aren't true. So the Mesopotamians existed in a time that was probably about 5,000 years ago. So it's before Moses, right? So the storyline is similar to the Moses story. So people that are theologians who are low vibration and only looking at religion, they're saying, well, then all scrolls, because that's older than the scroll of Moses, Moses's religion is probably stolen from that one, because we know that people change the name of the god and keep the same storyline and integrate that into their society. Why did they do that? Because that is the way to ascend. Okay, so people have said that the Statue of Liberty is Lucifer. Yeah, that's, they're trying to count the things on the head, and they're trying to say that it's the devil. It's actually the opposite of that. So I'll get into that in a minute. It's actually the opposite of that. It's to represent the spirituality. Count the horns on the head that they're trying to say is the devil. It's not. It's the opposite, and they're trying to keep you from the spiritual practice. We'll get into the Statue of Liberty in a minute, okay? So the Mesopotamian scroll that they found in 1948, Zachariah Sitchin was trying to translate, and he was trying to figure out the word Anunnaki. This one word in this entire scroll is the only thing that they focus on in the History Channel's Ancient Aliens, okay? Just that word, and it's actually 2 words. And it's actually 3 words put together to make 2 words. But the way that it's written in the cuneiform is there's no spaces in between the words. That's the way everything was written back then. Sanskrit is the same way. Yiddish was the same way. Hebrew was the same way. Farsi was the same way. Arabic was the same way. It's only in the modern time that they started putting spaces in between the words. Originally, if you go back far enough, 4,000, 5,000, 10,000 years ago, they would write with no spaces. So you would read, the Bible would be one long word, one long sentence that started at the beginning and ended 900 pages later. Okay, so the Enuma Elish was the same way. Zachariah Sitchin found this word Anunnaki, so all these words. And he saw the word Anu he had known about the next door neighbor to the Mesopotamians were Arcadians. Okay, so Arcadia was next door to Mesopotamia. The Arcadians were Greeks. Okay, they were Greek people that had conquered and were living there at the time, and they called the place Arcadia. That country, they had a god called Anu. So, knowing a little bit about the way people borrow gods from place to place when they find something, he assumed that was the god Anu that was being talked about there, skipped over the word Na and read the word ki and discovered that that word meant comes. So in 1948, Zechariah Sitchin says, in this saga, the Enuma Elish, they're saying the god Anu came to earth. Giorgio Tsoukalos got a hold of that in 2012, made sure to film that in the History Channel's Ancient Aliens, and said, here's proof that translated from Sitchin in 1948, the god Anu came down, spaceship came down to earth, 2012. 3 years later in 2015, Giorgio Tsoukalos took that one step further and said that that translation lied, made this up on camera, and said that translation meant those from the heavens came. Now Anunnaki is one word and it's a species. 2015. You can look it up. You can watch the videos from Ancient Aliens, History Channel's Ancient Aliens. Okay, so he went from the god Anu, which was actually a wrong translation, to those from the heavens. Now the word became one word, Anunnaki, and they attached it to the Mesopotamian pantheon. So the History Channel's people added the word Anunnaki onto the god list of the Mesopotamians now. So now they're starting to call Marduk, his last name is Anunnaki, because now they're saying Marduk was an Anunnaki. Okay, so that's the oldest scroll that they've now, since 1948 and 2012, evolved into the creation of all people, and the god Anu came down. They were the Anunnaki. They came down and they created us, and then they created all these religions because all the religions are telling the same story. But the actual history says that the people there said, yeah, we did borrow that from Arcadia, and it was from a scroll that they wrote that we changed the names of the deities for, but it was a scroll that they had, that the Greeks had. So when you go, what scroll did that, was that? And you look at their history, and then you go to the Greek pantheon from the Arcadians, they say, yes, that was a scroll that we had, but we borrowed that from the Egyptians. And when you go to the Egyptians and they say, this is the scroll that they gave you, the Egyptians go, yes, that was a scroll that was from a society that was before us. Okay, so it's not the oldest scroll anymore. There was other scrolls that it was based on, and they know this in history, but History Channel's and Ancient Aliens has stopped right there. They tell you it's the older scroll, and because the Anunnaki word is in there, the Anunnaki created that scroll because they're the ones who created that legend, which means all religions were written from that legend, and all of the religions are fake to control people. Okay, so come forward in time, and you had people who were Freemasons, okay, who were Freemasons that were French, and other Freemasons that were in the Americas, and they were of the royal families who think they own this planet, okay, and the founding fathers of the United States of America, I'm from there, was born there, who signed the Declaration of Independence to rule themselves, were part of the royal families. They were landowners that owned land, and they didn't like paying an homage to their cousin, the king. So they decided that they wanted to make this their own land and rule it themselves. Okay, so they convinced the people to fight against the king and stop the money that the king keeps hoarding from them, because he raised the taxes by 1% on one thing. Okay, on tea. That's the Boston Tea Party. He went from 1% tax to a 2% tax on the tea that was coming from England, and that started a revolution in the United States. It's not a joke. You can look that up. So then they went to war, and they created the United States. Okay, they were landowners from over there. Where the Statue of Liberty comes from is the people that were here. The reason that the people in the United States created the United States is because other people just like them that were in France at the time wanted to be free. They helped the United States become free. France at the time sent ships to blockade the English so that the United States could become free, because they wanted to take over. They were already in Nova Scotia, which means New Scotland. They were already in Canada and owned the east side of Canada, and the English owned the west side of Canada, and the English owned the United States. The United States ended up buying from Napoleon, French dictator, the Louisiana Purchase, which was everything from Florida or from Louisiana, what they call the Panhandle, all the way the rest of the United States, except for Oregon, Washington, Nevada, Arizona, New Mexico. So everything from Texas, Wyoming, and all of that over, the French owned, and they sold it to the United States when Napoleon was fighting a war in Europe trying to take over the world. He needed the money. He joked about that because he was going to come back and take it back from the Americans right after he dealt with the Europeans and took over all of Europe. He was going to come over and take all of the United States as well. Okay. Spain owned everything else in the United States that I just mentioned. Okay. The Spanish owned that and Central America, Mexico, Central America, and South America, most of it. Spanish owned all of that. The English owned Canada and the United States. The west coast or east coast of Canada was owned by the French. Part of the United States, there was the French-American wars that were going on there, that were the English and the Americans before they were a country were fighting at war, and then they tried to help the Americans become free from England because they wanted all that America as well. Okay, so the founding fathers had ties back to the old world. Most of them were French, some of them were English. They had ties back to the old world. They were Freemasons, 33rd degree Freemasons. They decided to try and go out on their own and create this idea of self-rule. Okay, so they convinced the king. I talked about this earlier. They convinced the king to let them do this. Then eventually France also did the same thing, and all of the countries in Europe started doing the same thing with the self-rule. Canada started doing it. I'm in Australia. They're self-rule. They're still a subject to the king, but they rule themselves as if they're a free country, but they're still owned by the king in England. Canada was the same way. America, some people say, is the same way even to this day. They're still owned by the king in England, but they act like they're not. Okay, America doesn't say that outright. Australia does. Canada does. Okay, so the Statue of Liberty was made by a French person who was a Freemason. Okay, and they brought that over. There's another one, the Statue of Liberty, right, was actually on the Eiffel Tower. The Eiffel Tower was where they built the pieces of the Statue of Liberty on and hung them on. Okay, and then they took them off of there and shipped them over to the United States and put it together as the Statue of Liberty and left that up there. It's still there. You can look that up in history. So they were Freemasons. And if you look at that, they weren't satanic at all, but they were about spirituality in a way that people don't understand today. So they immediately assume that they were evil because the people are part of the royal family and they're controlling. They weren't actually Luciferians, but they did believe in the stars and all of the stuff. That's why if you look at Washington, D.C., it's almost in a square. They've kind of cut it to the river now, but it used to be 10 mile by 10 square mile square. And now they've cut the state of Virginia into part of it. It used to be D.C. So now it goes square, and then the river comes up, the Hudson comes up, and it goes across like that now, and that's the border. But it used to be a 10 by 10, a 10 by 10 square miles, 10 square miles. And then the streets are aligned in the shape of a pentacle, not a pentagram, not an upside down star, but a right side up star. And it's because of the symbology that is involved in that. However, the symbology that is involved in that is Luciferian. Lucifer is not Satan. Luciferians are not Satanists. Okay. So you see some of that where they're trying to integrate that and show you that it's the same. It's okay. That's a catch-all phrase for evil. Okay. But those people were descendants of Luciferians. Lucifer was an Atlantean who was self-serving. He was a general in the Atlantean military who tried to overthrow during the Civil War. There's that storyline of the fall again, and the fight against the fall of the people and the fight against those who were in charge. So you have the fall of Atlantis, and the people who were stranded here with no technology were the Luciferians, the people who followed Lucifer. It's where you get that story of the fallen angels and Lucifer, Satan, that led a rebellion against God. That story comes from the story of Atlantis. So there is some truth to that story. So it's not satanic, but it is self-serving. So you can equate it with the devil, because the devil is the self-serving, person who is, who had an army who was trying to take control, because that is true. Okay, so the Luciferian character and those people who have the elongated skulls are traced back to France. Okay, so they were there and prominent there and created these different secret societies and then orchestrated things behind the scenes because they are infiltrated. They are the royal family now, all the royal families, the royal houses. So every war you've ever heard of in history is just the family members fighting for control of the earth, fighting against their cousins and brothers and sisters. Not a joke, truly. Okay, so the statue isn't Lucifer, but it does because it's a woman. Lucifer was not a woman. Lucifer was a male, but it is a representation of the Luciferianism. But it's not Satan, but it is the evil, a great evil who lost the war. They were trying to tell all of us that we're prisoners here and that they are in charge because they're the Anunnaki, because they're associating themselves with the Anunnaki now. And because before it was, we need the land grab, so we have to associate ourselves with Thor, right? So because the Vikings had the oldest land grab to the North American continent, that's been proven now. So now they had to be related to them. So now they're relating themselves to the Anunnaki, and the Anunnaki are Atlanteans. So that's what they're doing. Lucifer was an Atlantean, but they have to now say they're Anunnaki, because Anunnaki is the people who came here that they're telling is the creator gods. So now the people who lost the civil war that caused Atlantis to fall and the earth to almost get destroyed, those people got themselves control of all of the countries, and they still are in control of all of the countries now. They're family members, but they bred out most of their own DNA. So they're not actually, they keep saying, we created you. Well, if you created us, we should all have the elongated skull. No, we created you so that you would be dumb. That's how they said it. Well, weird, because you guys had to breed with us because you were interbreeding with yourselves so long that your gene pool was starting to break down, and you were becoming people with Down syndrome. So you started breeding with humans, and the second you started breeding with humans, all of your traits were bred out of you. The only way that can happen is that the human traits are the superior traits, because you know that if you know anything about genetics, if you breed with someone, if you're Asian and you breed with an African, whichever one of those two people has the strongest gene pool, the children are going to look more like. Okay? So when the Atlanteans, the Anunnaki, the superior DNA, quote unquote, who created the humans, started breeding with humans, their DNA disappeared. And our DNA became the prevalent DNA. So they're not our creators, because if they were, they supposedly used their DNA on a primate and created a dumb animal that they could control to mine shit for them. If that's the case, their DNA should not have disappeared when they started breeding with us, because that which makes us Homo sapien is supposed to be theirs. Okay? It's supposed to be junk DNA from them. However, it is a representation of Lucifer, to get back to what you were talking about, a representation of that way of life, which is this caste system that we're all living under. Okay, so this way of life that is the global empire, that is Terra, that is Earth now, being controlled by those families. They are the descendants of the evil people who tried to take control of the planet, who lost, and were stranded here as prisoners, left behind when the people who won the war left the Earth because the Earth had been decimated and most people were dead. They left these people behind. These people found that there were still humans alive down here, and they immediately integrated with those societies and took control. And they've been in control ever since. That's the truth of what's going on here. That's the Anunnaki, but they're not superior. They're not our creators. We already coexisted with them. We were here on the Earth with the Atlanteans, and the Atlanteans weren't breeding with us. When they started breeding with us, their DNA disappeared. There's still traces of it, but it disappeared mostly. The brain shrunk down, the head shrunk down. They became more and more human, Homo sapien. So they're not the creators. Otherwise, we would have evolved into them. Even if they were doing genetic enhancements on us to keep us dumb, they would still have bigger brains, which means they would need to have a bigger skull. They don't. We would see it. Oh no, they cloak themselves because they're so cool with technology. If that's the case, how come they're still stuck on this rock? They don't have technology. It took them 10 generations to get technology back. They had to recreate technology because they didn't have any. And they didn't have the knowledge to recreate their own technology. So they had to use the resources that they had here on the planet to recreate technology. And it's taking them 10 generations or more to get back to space. That's the truth of what's happening here. So yeah, so in the strictest sense, it is Satan, but it's not Satanism that you know as that religion, because that's not the religion of evil. The religion of evil is politic. It is the caste system that you're living under, right? Is Luciferianism, right? So Satan, in the way you think of Satan, as the devil who's equal to God, who's sitting on a throne, who's red-skinned and horns and a goatee with a tail and a pitchfork. It's a cartoon. But it represents the negative, self-serving, egoic aspect of the human condition. Lucifer was an actual physical human being who was a different race, who was down here on Earth at the time, that were the Atlanteans, not the Anunnaki, but you can call them that, because that's just like saying Lucifer and Satan are the same person. The Anunnaki are the personification of the evil empire who think they own this earth. But people are trying to now morph them into the creator gods and good gods, starting a religion of following the Anunnaki because they were the ones who created us, and they were actually not bad. They were good, because they need people to believe that so that they can then say, we're your creator gods. It's part of their modus operandi, their MO, their modus operandi. So they have to change the connotation of Anunnaki to good guys. They have to say Anunnaki created us. They have to say Anunnaki created all religions. Therefore, they can then land on Earth with a spaceship and say, we are the Anunnaki, and we are here to reclaim you and save you from the big bad aliens that are out there. Do you see? It's just part of their modus operandi. The truth is, you were free from the time that you were born, because you have an immortal soul that is free, that is forever, that cannot be destroyed. It cannot be mind wiped the way they say that is a machine that can zap you into not remembering. They can zap your physical body. You're already veiled. So they can zap your physical body and kill the memory out of your brain and stop you from remembering shit you did in this life. Right? And then they're going to tell you that's the machine we use on your immortal soul when we capture you. Don't go into the light when you die, because the second you do, you're going to be captured, and we're going to zap your soul and make you forget, and we're going to put you back into your prison, which is a human body. That's how they started with the Matrix, saying, and alien robots had the humans in a genome, in a goop, a pile of goop with stuff stuck into your brain, and that what you're seeing here is a simulation. And you're in the simulation, you're actually in a computer, and none of this is happening, and your body's just laying in goo. That was the beginning of that, because they knew that science was starting to prove that this was a simulation. So now they are physically giving you a backstory to the realization that this place is a simulation, because it is, because this isn't happening. It just thinks it is. You're not here, I'm not here, none of us are actually here, okay? Did you recently just move out of the U.S.? Yes, I did. If so, what made you want to? I moved out of the United States because I finally found Brooke, my wife, who her and I have been together in 30 lifetimes on this earth. And we were searching for each other on this planet, and we weren't supposed to find each other until now. So I had to be 57 years without her, and I was in the United States. And I knew that my soulmate was Australian, and I was planning to try and move over here to find her. And I was online doing this. She was here in Australia, and she was trying to ascend and trying to remember who she was, and knew that her life wasn't the way it is. She started flipping through Facebook, and all of a sudden I was live, and she said, "Who's this guy?" And she started listening, and all of a sudden she realized that she was obsessed with me and in love with me, and was like, how can I be obsessed and in love with this guy? I don't even know who this guy is. Who is this fucking guy? Then she was in my live talking like you are, and I saw her name, and I was interested and started talking to her, and then had someone put her in a chat group that we have that we still have, that you can get into so we can all talk and hang out when I'm not live. And her and I started talking there. And then I finally saw her on camera once, realized who she was, but she wasn't awake enough to realize who I was. So over time, we continued talking, and I couldn't tell her who she was because of the law of free will. I can't tell you some things about yourself because you have to discover them. Because if I tell you, because the first thing that people are going to do is go, who told you that? Him? He's glamoring you, which is exactly what people did to her, right? So I couldn't tell her who she was and who she was to me until she discovered it on her own. And once she discovered it, I even had to deny it after she discovered it. I had to deny that I was in love with her and that I knew her, and until she got mad at me and said, I know that you know me, and I know that I know you, and I know that we're supposed to be together, and I know that we're in love. So why are you not telling me this? And then I started to open up a little bit, but I couldn't tell her anything about our past lives together until she discovered them on her own. Okay? Only thing I could do was corroborate in history. Once she said, this is a picture of you. I can see you in there. This is physically not you, but you are the soul in this picture, aren't you? And other people who already knew that about me. Other people already knew that that person in history was me. And she saw that and went, that's you, isn't it? Yes, that's me. Okay, so then I was your wife then. And she started putting that together. So we've been together for 30 lifetimes. So I was taking care of my mom then, and I was trying to transition my mom into a home because she had Alzheimer's and she was getting to that place. So then Brooke and she ended up coming over to America and helping me start to transition my mom. And because we realized, that we had been together all these lifetimes and we were supposed to be together in this lifetime, we got married when she was in the United States. And then I started planning, once I got my mom into a home, I was going to come over here. Well, before I got my mom into a home, before I could transition and come over here, my mom died. So then I finished that. Her mom also died over here from the same thing. So then I moved over here. I've only been here for, it'll be 90 days on the 6th of November that I've been in this country. And I'm filing for an 820 visa to stay in this country, to live here, because I'm married to Brooke and I moved here, and I'm filing with this government to be able to stay in this country and get a citizenship here and have dual citizenship, America and Australia, so that Brooke and I can then go back and forth. So that's why I came here. I also knew that the future of the movement that we had was going to be based in Australia, because Australia and America are the two most spiritual places on the earth from the ancients, the original peoples, the Native Americans and the Native Australians. And I knew that I was going to end up in Australia because this place was going to be that base. There's more of us over here than there are in America, almost the same amount probably, that came here. That place is and Europe, the UK, is the stronghold of the evil people. So we have people in the UK and we have people in the United States. And then over here in Australia is the stronghold of the spiritual. And that part of America that I was in Arizona, and I moved to California to take care of my mom, but that's also a pocket of very spiritual beings that are there, the natives that live in the area of the Midwest of the United States, the Southwest of the United States. So I knew that I was going to end up over here. And once I got here, we were going to move into the next phase of all of us who came here. And there's a bunch, like I said, a bunch of us over here already, and a bunch in the United States. Not saying that everyone's going to move here, because we're going to fan out to the whole world. We're going to have a base of operations in Europe, Americas, Australia, and a couple of other countries. Okay. So that's why I came here, was to start the next phase of the Orion coalition. That's on Earth, the Orion Coalition of Light, and the Orion Council of Light, which is attached to the Galactic Council, the next phase of the human condition here, along with all the other coalitions and councils that are here on Earth. This time was for me to come here to be with Brooke and to solidify the energy here, and then move out from this place to all of those places around the world. So that's why I came here. I came here for that, for my wife, for us to be together, to upgrade our genome and upgrade our energy as one, as the two together as one again, and then move out from here. Let's see, what else were you saying here? Let me go up here and see. Speaking of that, have you ever heard of the black goo? Yes, that came up. The black goo started when Star Trek: The Next Generation, back in the 1990s, had an episode where they had the black goo. It was season 1 of Star Trek: The Next Generation, where all the evil. It was the same as the concentration of all the evil, like in Star Trek, the second movie, where they met Spock's brother, or maybe it was the third movie, where they met Spock's brother, and there was God that was there, and God was trapped there, and Kirk said, "Why does God need a starship?" And God almost killed him, and he realized that character was a culmination of a great evil that had been trapped there by a good supposed God, and that they had to fight against that. Star Trek: The Next Generation found a planet that had black goo that was like an oil that was on the planet, and that was the hatred, all of the negative energy of evil was concentrated in that spot, and it created this black goo. So that's been something that's been in history, where people say that if you read the Necronomicon, which has a version of the Enuma Elish in it and some spells from that, but also the Mad Arab, which there's a version out there that has most of that book in it. You can find that book. I'm trying to find that book, by the way, to get that again. I had it in 2012, and I moved to Arizona from California, and it didn't make it there with me. And I wish I had taken it with me because of the story. In there's a story where they're trying to open up this obelisk, and out of the obelisk is this black goo, which is a personification of all the great evil. If you look at oil that we get out of the ground, that's a black goo. That is the personification of energy of all evil, because it is the black gold that evil people are controlling the world by having. So the black goo has become this catch-all idea throughout time of the darkness and the rot and all of this stuff. I don't know if that's where you're referring to, but you can see that evil sort of revolves near black goo in almost every pantheon, in every religion. And the evil, what is giving them control over this earth, is the black goo of the black gold oil, crude oil, which is that thick goop goo, until they turn it into, everyone thinks that the black goo that they pump out of the ground is exactly the oil that you get in your car. It's not. It's thicker than that. It is that goo. So I don't know if that's what you're referring to, but it has been somehow associated with the rot and the darkness and the evil and the collective consciousness of evil. Like the devil himself is black goo, and they've shown it in different movies and different religions. He says, I had a NDE, near-death experience, when I was 5. Let me go back up. When I was 5, and I remember everything. That I went to the place that almost like a giant hall with people as far as the eye could see. That's the halls of Amente, brother. Heaven, Elysium, Valhalla. That's where you went. You went to a place where you saw people waiting, and some were waiting for something. Yes, some were waiting for their people. Some were waiting for everybody to wake up, to assist. So yeah, when you went there, that was the library. That was the mansion, the halls of Amente. That's where everybody goes when they see the light, and the light takes them to what they describe as heaven, where God is sitting on a throne, and all these people are there in the presence of God. And so it depends on what you see as your spiritual heaven, in what you were taught and what you believe heaven's going to look like, and then it takes on that personification for you so that you feel okay and you don't get scared. But it is basically, that's why I say those things, that like the halls of Amente, or Elysium, or heaven, or or the Akashic record. Depending on the religion that you were taught, you will manifest that place to look like what you think is going to be pleasant for you, that doesn't scare you. But it is literally that place in which everyone is, the Galactic Council operates there as well. So but it is that place when people take ayahuasca, DMT, and they have that journey and they go to the center of the universe and meet God. That's usually what they describe. So depending on what your background is how you'll describe that. Let's see. Next thing I know that people started cheering all around me and said, "You get to go back. It's not your time." That's okay. Let me finish what you said here. Let me put this up on the screen here for people to read. Right? You get to go back. It's not your time. I still remember it like it was yesterday. This happened in 1990 in the state of Virginia. You get to go back. It's not your time. That is literally what I was saying earlier on. I don't think you were here, but I've said it before, so you probably remember me saying it. You're in a college here that is voluntary. You volunteered to be here. Okay. So wait, let me see what else you said here, and then I'll finish saying that. You said, I come from a long line of Scottish on my dad's side. I'm very, Celt Viking. So all of my DNA is Ireland, Wales, Scotland, and then Scandinavia, what they call Scandinavia, which is Geatland and the like, which is now Western Spain, Denmark. And so literally Ireland, Scotland, Denmark, Spain, Norway, Finland, you know what I mean? So you and I have the same DNA mostly. And then I have like 5% native and like a 3%, or the other way around, 3% native and 5% Greco-Roman, Greek Roman, because of Hadrian's Wall and the Vikings mixing with those people. So I come from a long line of Scottish on my dad's side of the family, and we have a book from the 1600s called the Ecclesiastes Necronoma, was that Necromata, and it talks about ancient alchemy. And I think I saw that on a website and haven't listened to all of it yet, with the mathematics with life. And I thought you were going to say from the Scottish Rite. I thought you were going to say the Colburn Bible, which is very similar, or the Book of Kells, which is very similar. I haven't read all of those yet, including that one, but it is on the site that I follow on YouTube. I can't think of the name of it. Right. So yeah, Penny said the Statue of Liberty, going back to that, has seven slots, 7 chakras. Right, Penny? 7 slots, 7 chakras in the crown. Right? So you guys should look into the Statue of Liberty from a standpoint of spirituality, not Satanism, and see what that is. So being a Merlin, I was also a chemist. I was listed as a chemist in the United States for 10 years. I am an alchemist. And I read a lot of that ancient stuff. I haven't finished reading that one yet, though. But it is on YouTube, and I can read it there. So I'm gonna have to go and listen to it. I started listening to a lot of the alchemical stuff that is from the different religions that is there. A lot of it is just the spells, right? So when I'm listening to those, I'm like, okay, I get this, but it's taken a long time, but I understand it because I understand the chemistry. But it's telling you some things that you need to know the formula for the key formula. I'm sure you know what, if you know about that stuff, you need to know what the key formula is so that you can formulate all this other stuff. And that's like when they talk about turning lead into gold and different things like that. But there's a key, and so different magi have their key, and then everything is based on creating this portion first and then using that on the other stuff. And some of that stuff doesn't teach you that key, but it tells you about it. But if you're paying attention and you're a good chemist, you can start to figure out what that key is. So I'll have to listen to that one because I haven't yet. So yeah, that's kind of cool, right? Different healing methodologies, right? So yeah, there's a lot of that. Like over here, I was surprised coming to Australia that they have tinctures here. So they have a lot of potions in this country. Where they don't have that in the United States, although they do, but it's behind the scenes in old school apothecaries like you're talking about with us. But this stuff's talked about openly in this country about tinctures and potions, and teas and stuff that's more old school European style that these guys over here in Australia still have. And I was impressed. I came here and was like, wow, you guys have more of the alchemy still involved in your society than over in America. It's been taken away because the pharmaceutical companies don't want anybody to do that stuff. So you guys we all have to kind of do it behind the scenes. You know what I'm talking about, brother. If you're in the United States, you know what I'm talking about. And in Europe these days, you know what I'm talking about. It's the same thing. So yeah, let's get back to that. You had that experience, and some people do that now with DMT, ayahuasca, psilocybin, where they have a trip and then they go to that place, and you actually had them tell you you're one of the lucky ones. So I didn't blow past that and not remember that, guys out there in the world. I didn't blow past that. Most people, when they have an NDE, a near-death experience, they remember going through the tunnel, they head to the light, and then someone says, no, you can't stay here, but it's beautiful, and they want to stay there. And then they say, no, you can't stay there, and they get pushed back, and then bam, they slam back into their body, and they wake up, and they're either in the hospital or whatever. And then they have the near-death experience, and they remember it, and they talk about it. But it's rare that somebody says, you're lucky you get to go back, because that right there in and of itself, it lends its ear to what I was telling you. You're in a place that you volunteered to come to. You, in this reality, on this planet, being in this physical body, you are in the hardest School of Knox college for a soul to be in the Milky Way galaxy. There's only one more like this in the entire Milky Way. I tell you this truly. Every one of you that is here on this planet volunteered to be here because you're a badass and you wanted to go to the toughest school. You already graduated from other schools and you came here to do this. And some of us who came to help decided to go backwards in time and insert ourselves and go through the evolution of first, second, into third dimensional beingness on this planet, because that's how badass we are. Because we are the Patal. We came from the 11th density to come down here to help right this place. And there are millions of us. Those of us in our direct coalition down here are 28. Those of us in the direct council are millions. But there are 28 of us that are currently on Earth, and there's more that are coming, that are just in the Orion Council, the Orion Coalition. Okay? Coalition is boots on the ground people, and half of us don't remember that we are part of it. Most of us don't remember. I know who most of them are, but they don't remember, and I'm waiting for them to wake up, and I assist them in the ways that I can. Can't tell them who they are until they're ready to know who they are. Once they learn who they are, and then they remember who they are. Okay? We're part of the Orion Council. Council is spiritual, that is attached to the Orion Council of Light, is attached to the Galactic Council, Federation Council. We have come here to help. We've come here to help right the ship because it went too far astray, and you guys are caught because you were supposed to be. If you guys didn't figure it out after a certain time, we came to fix it. So people came here with the information, got this place stuck because they didn't realize this was one of the toughest schools, came down here and gave information to the people. They got stuck. Some of us came down here to try and help. Didn't work out as well as we thought, so we had to come down here on Earth. Now, since that time, more people have come. Okay? You had an experience of going before the council and having them say, you have to go back because it's not your time yet. And people saw you as a rock star and said, you're lucky you get to go back. Because they don't know what it's like down here. But they do know that anyone who makes it out of here is a rock star. Every one of you on this earth that hear my voice, or even if you don't, every one of you volunteered for this, and you're a fucking rock star. You volunteered to be deep, deep, deep undercover, veiled, with the possibility of never remembering who you are. And your job was to come down here, fight this place, learn what you needed to learn, remember who you were, and wriggle your way free and come back home. And you got caught. You got stuck. It's okay. It's supposed to happen. So you're in a panic room. And in that panic room that you're supposed to be getting out from, we locked the doors and left you in and made it so hard that only a few of you would actually figure it out. It's the Kobayashi Maru, if you're a Star Trek fan. It's the no-win scenario. You were supposed to get stuck, and evil was supposed to have their run, and evil was supposed to do this. And it was told to you in all your literature that the devil will rule the earth for a time. Okay? The time's over now. We're here to help you. We're here to help you get out of here. Now you just have to remember who you are, and you have to relax, and you have to start on your path and remember that you can get out of here. So you had an experience where you were shown that you were that person, that you were one of the lucky that get to come down here. Everybody that's down here thinks that this is happening to them, and they're, why would God do this? And I must be in hell. This place must be hell because it can't be heaven. All of you volunteered to come here. Every one of you volunteered to come down here to do this, to be a part of this experience. And I'm here to help you. I'm one of the people that is here to help you to remember the door, remember the keys that are sitting in your hand. Remember which key works on that door so that you can get out of here. It's the door on the right, not the door on the left. And so your near-death experience that happened in 1990 was helping you expand your consciousness so that you could then remember who you were. You came back and you've kept that with you, and that's expanded your consciousness, and you've asked the question, what was that? What did that mean? And you've been asking that ever since. And just now you decided to bring that up and ask me about it. Okay? That's helping you expand your consciousness. And if you listen to anything that I or anyone else tells you about this college, you're one of the lucky ones. You went to a place where you were conscious there, and people were like, oh, what? Whoa, you get to go back, dude. Whoa, bro. And you were like, what's going on? I don't even know what's going on because you weren't awake enough to realize what was going on. You're like, but wait, this is cool. I want to stay here. And they're like, no. And you're like, wait. As you went back and then, whoa, what was that? You woke up in your body. You were either in the hospital or wherever you were, and you woke up and thought it was a dream. And everyone was like, you're fine. It was a dream. You're right here. It was just a dream. It was like Back to the Future when Marty woke up after getting knocked unconscious and he heard his mom's voice. She says, you're okay, relax. You're in good old 1946. And he was like, what? Freaking out. And he realized that it wasn't a dream and he was backwards in time. But at first, she was telling him he was okay, that he was just a dream. He hit his head. You come here and they go, it's okay. It was just a dream. You hit your head. You almost died. Everybody physiologically sees their life flash before their eyes, just something that happens to the human so that you'll become comfortable and let go and die and go into oblivion. That's what people who live in the flesh, who don't believe in anything that happens after death, says happens to the human body. And you just go into nothingness because there's nothing there. So your body just goes through the motions of you going, oh, let me see everything that I ever did so that I go out peacefully into nothingness. Because that's what they believe, because there is no God. And they say that because they're secularists. They're atheists. They don't believe in any of that. They believe in this place only because they're supposed to. Okay? They're playing a part. They're an immortal soul that is not awake yet because they can't be. Okay? You had an experience that you didn't do drugs to have. People are taking ayahuasca, psilocybin, or DMT or THC in a very high level to have that experience, to go on that vision quest, to see that. Okay? And then they're coming back and telling the same story, and everyone's like, yeah, it's because you did drugs. Well, what about the people with near DE, NDEs, near-death experiences? Physiological thing that happens in the body when the body releases DMT, so you're just having a drug experience. That's all. Nothing happens. Achoo, nothing happens when you die. Right? People say, I don't say God bless you. I say Gesundheit. Gesund means health. Health to you is what you're saying. Don't die. Bless you. So you're just saying it in a different language. Health to you. Because people, when they sneeze, your heart stops. So people, children, afraid of the dark, back in the day, thought that that was the angel of death trying to kill you, or the devil trying to get you because your heart was stopping. And then they would say, oh, God's blessing to you to keep your heart running. Okay, good. Phew, that was close. Had I not said that, your heart would have never started and you would have died. right? So people who didn't believe in God still believed that there was something that was coming to get you, and they would go, help you. And so Gesundheit just means help to you, right? That's all that means. So I don't say God bless you. I don't say bless you. I just say Gesundheit, right? There's people that joke about that. It sounds like you're saying you Hail Hitler or something because it's German, but it means health to you. It's like when Roman Catholics say peace be with you, and the respondents when the priest says that from the crowd is and also with you, or if you say assalamu alaikum, someone says alaikum salam, right? It's the same thing. Peace be with you and also with you. So, but they'd say, oh, that's wrong, that's evil. Those people are saying something in another language. They're saying peace be upon you, just in a different language. You're saying it in English. They're saying it in Arabic. Weird. Let's kill them over it because they said it the wrong way. It's like when I said thoth and that woman got mad at me and capitalized it. It's not pronounced thoth. I'm like, it's because you learned it that way, so you think it's the right way. Depends on what language you learned it in the first time and who you learned it from. Because even the Egyptians argue over whether it's thoth or toth, okay? Or thoth or toth. Tomato, potato, potato. Depends on how you say it. I say caramel. People say caramel. Okay, I say caramel. I say apricot. People say apricot. Doesn't mean that it's that we should kill each other over it. Doesn't mean that I'm wrong either. Apricot is an older English way of saying apricot. Apricot is an Americanized version of the word apricot. Okay, it's like getting mad because I say lion instead of Leo or Leon. Okay, because the word lion is a bastardized word that came from the French word lion, 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 which means lion in French, which means Leo in French. Greek word for lion is Leo. French word for Leo is Lion, but the way they spell it is Lion. The English word for Leo is the French spelling spoken the wrong way. Lion, lion. That's where it comes from. Look up the etymology of those words. So me saying thoth instead of thoth or toth or toth is etymology. It's semantics. Depends on where it was translated, what language it was translated into before it became translated into the English I'm using. Okay? So you guys got to realize that. Okay, I've been on the air for way too long. My wife's going to be home from work any second, so I'm going to get off of the air here. I didn't expect to stay this long, so it was kind of cool that you guys started asking questions and talking in the chat so that I can continue. If you have any more final questions, throw them at me now. Otherwise, I'm going to end up taking off for the day. I'll be back probably on TikTok either tonight or tomorrow. And then on Saturday, I'll be back doing the Emerald Tablets. I didn't do it this week, but I'll be back. Last week, I didn't do it, but I'll be back this coming Friday, if you're in America, at the same time as normal. So I'm just kind of waiting. So if you guys have a question, throw it at me. And otherwise, I'll just end up ending the live for today. And I got to post my live from yesterday and this one on MP3 broadcast. And then I'll go back. Like I said, I'm changing my routine and going live on different days at different times. That just means I don't have people knowing that I'm going to be live to tune in. So you have to kind of watch and take and subscribe to me on whatever platform you're on and hit that button so you know when I go live. If you're on YouTube, you'll get a notification that I go live. If you're on Facebook, you'll get a notification. If you're on Instagram, you'll get a notification. Same thing with my TikTok account. I'm going to start going live on there again. We will be going live on Merlin and Maeve. Merlin and Maeve has a Facebook page, a YouTube channel, a Instagram channel, and a TikTok channel currently. I didn't put one on X yet, but we will be making one for there. And we will be going live on those, broadcasting on Merlin and Maeve at some point. So if you're not following us already, we already do have a page, like I said, Instagram, Merlin and Maeve. You can go to Facebook or YouTube. If you're on YouTube, you can go to the YouTube Merlin and Maeve. Look up Merlin and Maeve on YouTube. They're in the bio there. There's links to the Instagram, the Facebook, and the TikTok. Same thing with all the other platforms. So if you're on Facebook, the links to all the other platforms are on there. So each platform has the links to all the other platforms. We will get a X file up eventually, an X file, get it up there eventually. And we will be going live on those when we can, because whenever you start those, you have to wait. The YouTube channel we can go live on now, because that was my YouTube channel. That was the Orion Coalition YouTube channel. So I just changed the name to Merlin and Maeve for Brooke and I's company. The same thing with the one of the other accounts. The Instagram was also one of my other names. It was just in my name, and so I changed that. The TikTok is brand new, so that one will have to wait until we get our, you can have 1,000 likes and over 100 followers to go live. We'll be able to go live on Facebook on Merlin and Maeve soon, because you have to have 100 followers and you have to be on the air for 90 days. So it's 60 days or 90 days. Either way, it's coming up soon, so we'll be able to do that. So we're going to start doing things live and broadcasting on those. So we're also going to continue doing what I was doing before with Zoom calls off air for people to be able to talk about spirituality. We're going to do that through Merlin and Maeve. So we're going to be having Zoom calls doing that at some point. We're also going to be having schools and classes where we're going to be teaching you guys stuff. So if you guys are interested in that, let us know. All right. So have a great day. God bless you guys. I'll see you guys either on TikTok. I was on somebody's live yesterday. I'm all over TikTok getting on other people's lives, and I'm going live there. Don't know if I'll do that today, but I might do that tomorrow. But I definitely will be back live broadcasting like this on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook on my Saturday in New South Wales, Friday afternoon at 3 p.m. West Coast America time, to continue doing the Emerald Tablets of Thoth. We're on, I think, chapter 10. Don't quote me. We'll find out when I get back into that portion of things. I love you guys. Have a great night. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good morrow, depending on where in the world you were tuning into the show. I'll see you guys. Have a good day.